is going to be served by the 2025 Eagles roster. But how much youth is too much? Connor Thomas is in for Andrew today. Hang with us. It's Kincade Salciunas.
This is Kincade and Salciunas.
Quinion, Cooper, Carter, Smith, Juergens, Davis. Those are 6 key young players you have to approach in the next 2 years off seasons. That's why they're shedding salary.
He can't do what he's done following previous Super Bowl years, which was handing out the thank you contracts to aging players or handing out big contracts to the wrong players. And this offseason, he has done the complete opposite.
Kincade and Salciunas. John Kincade, Andrew Salciunas.
97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
All right, welcome aboard the Thursday edition of the Kincade and Salciunas show. Connor Thomas in for Andrew today. Connor, good morning.
Morning, Johnny.
You're wearing branded clothing now.
I am. The union sent me this nice jersey.
With your name on it?
On the front and the back. Shout out to Thomas's, the company that makes like bagels and English muffins. So I got a twofer.
A Thomas's English muffin, a definitely prime item, which is great. So I'm glad to see you got the name on the front and the back, which is great. Remember, we're playing. I would say to him, we're playing for the name on the front, not the name on the back.
Damn right I am.
I used to say that to my players. Didn't work out like that. Hey, the Eagles, we've talked about it, and Jimmy Kempski had it yesterday and on social media, and my jaw dropped. That the Eagles are set right now. They currently have just 4 players who are going to be 30-plus this season on the roster, including Lane Johnson, your long snapper, your kicker. I mean, it's a small group, and a guy who could be out of here in Dallas Goedert. So, again, Geek Boy has been really trying to look at the numbers. And, yes, the Eagles are set to be the youngest defending Super Bowl championship roster in 2025. First of all, before you get it misconstrued, I think that is absolutely amazing. It is exactly where I would want to be. As an Eagles fan, that's where I want to be. But Connor, is there a gap? We're always hearing about things like veteran leadership. And as Adam Schefter pointed out yesterday, where was the veteran leadership when the team was crapping out in 2023? But this roster is going to be really young. I do think Dallas Goedert's going to be gone. I can't get over the fact how young this Eagles team is going to be and what they're going to be expected to do.
Yeah, it worries me a little bit. I got to be honest with you. I do think having the veteran presence in the locker room is very important. Now, some of these guys under 30 have a veteran presence already. A guy like Jordan Mailata, who's on the right side of 30 in NFL standards, is a guy that could lead a locker room. A guy
Absolutely.
like Jalen Hurts or A.J. Brown or Devontae Smith, they could do that. Saquon Barkley, he could do that. On the defensive side of the ball, though, I have more concerns. Because
that's where my concerns lie, because that's where the losses happen.
Yes, I don't know who really steps into that Brandon Graham, Darius Slay leadership role. And Adam Schefter told us yesterday, leadership is overrated, right? It's talked about too much sometimes. When teams win, leadership is good. When teams lose, leadership is bad. So I don't want to overstate my level of concern. I just wonder, I'm very intrigued, I'll say, to see who of these young players is going to grow quicker. You've met people in your life who are mature beyond their years.
Not around this radio station, but I have met them in life.
I think the Eagles will show that they have some of those guys, but right now I don't know who specifically those players are on the defensive side of the ball.
The question is for fans out there, too, is it too young to put the expectations of – the expectations are clear. When you win the Super Bowl, anything less – is a step back. That's not fair. If they go to the Super Bowl and lose next year, if they go to the NFC Championship game and lose, it's not a disaster of a season. It's not terrible. It's just less than what we got used to this year. But I wonder is, when does everybody think the veteran, quote-unquote, leadership is necessary? Like, is it – I always think of it as when adversity hits, you've got to have guys in the locker room or the clubhouse that are going to say, I've been here before. This is how we came through it. This is how we're going to fix it.
Absolutely.
So you think that's I look at that as the most prominent.
Yeah,
and the most important.
Here's the cool thing about the Philadelphia Eagles. Cool now, on March 20th, 2025, because
Yes.
it was not cool at the time it was happening. But you think about guys that have been here 2 years or more. That's not a huge time frame. But in 2 years, so guys like Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith, who were drafted just a couple of years ago, have gone through one of the worst regular season collapses in NFL history, where everything fell apart for the Philadelphia Eagles. So they went through the adversity. They saw what that did to the team. They may have learned how to avoid that in the future. But they also followed that up by reaching the highest of highs and winning the Super Bowl. So if you have been with the Eagles for 2 years or more, you not only have seen the worst of the worst, you've seen the best of the best. And that level of experience that you've gained has got to be invaluable for these guys stepping in. So I don't want to overstate my worry. I just really do like having a sparing amount of veteran players that are, we'll say, over the age of 30 for this
Correct.
example, that have that knowledge. But the Eagles may be, because of the collapse and the triumph, best set to have a younger roster.
Here's the problem, and I'm glad Salciunas is not here for this. And I hope he's not up listening. I actually feel that in my head, I won't do it until after they would win 2. But I actually now can sort of experience the idea that this thing could really be a long run.
You're coming around on the D word?
Yeah, but I need the second shoe to fall. I need another championship before. You got win 2 in a row, and I'll talk about that. It's more the idea is I don't feel in our Philly sports history that I have ever been sitting on a gold mine like this. The only time I've ever felt like this was around 2007 with the Phillies. And I thought there were going to be numerous championships, and it still was a freaking great run. It was awesome. It's the last time I felt this good, though, to say, wow, I'm thinking the next 4 or 5 years are going to be really, really great.
Yeah, and I mean, the Phillies in that era get crushed because they only get one ring. And I say get crushed by standards of a championship-winning team in this city when we look back on that. But if you objectively look at the quality of those teams, you had World Series again in 2009, you had NLCS in 2010, and it went the wrong direction. But that team was competitive for a big stretch right there that we really enjoyed. That was the birth of Red October here in the era of baseball that I know. Like, if the Eagles, I want the Eagles to obviously get another one. But even if they were to stay on that same path that the Phillies did just in general, where it's competitive for the next 3 or 4 years at a championship or conference championship level, that is a very impressive stretch of football.
The one thing is okay, so why did that fail? I think I know why it failed.
Yeah.
I think they just aged out.
Exactly, and they paid the guys that were aging out.
They stayed with it. I love this offseason plan by the Eagles. I love it, and I fully embrace it. But I do wonder if it's asking too much of these young guys to have the weight of expectations all on their shoulders to win it again without – I don't know what Milton Williams brought to the room. I can't speak to that. I do know what Darius Slay brought to the room because I've had numerous players talk about it. Josh Sweat was around the organization and had been around a lot of people for a long time. I don't, again, know speaking to it, and Andrew Tcheko can tell us more of that later today when he joins us in the 8 o'clock hour. I just wonder if a bump in the road happens, if times get tough, the veteran leadership saved last season at the bye week.
You're right.
At 2-2. Are the youngsters going to be prepared and ready to do that? Or if it's the veteran leadership, the bump in the road is the defense this year. Last year was the offense. It was the offensive players having to go into Nick Sirianni and say, run the damn ball. This is what we're built for. This is what we do. And they won a Super Bowl because of it. If it's the defense, and Brendan Gunn joins us too, he's in Connor's chair, who's going into Nick Sirianni's office if it's a defensive issue?
Right now, my guy would be Zach Baun, but he's only been here a year at this point, right? So he needs to step into that leadership role, head and shoulders, just jump into it, I guess, face first. I don't think Jalen Carter is necessarily that guy. I think he leads by example on the field.
Yeah, that's not his personality as I know it.
Can Nolan Smith be that guy? I know he's been a vocal leader in the past at Georgia. We saw how he came into the league like that. But yeah, it's a minor concern for me right now because they don't have that guy on defense.
I'll make the prediction to you now, Connor. If he stays here for a second contract and continues to excel, Nolan Smith will be Brandon Graham.
I would love that.
As far as the personality, the energy, the fan base, he'll be that guy.
Yeah, because listen, outside of him or Zach Bond or maybe Nakobe Dean, who could be heading into his last year with the Eagles.
Sure, he could be.
Depending on what happens with the injury. I don't know who's the leader apparent of the defense going forward. And that may scare me for just the long-term view.
610-632-0975. You want to text in and share your thoughts? Do you have that apprehension? I don't think you mean fear. You mean more of an apprehension.
No, yeah, just a little bit of worry in the back of my mind.
Where is the youth going to be able to lead? And who are going to be the leaders? More on the defensive side of the ball. But if you're believing in the overwhelming youth on the roster being ready to defend the title, who exactly will be those leaders? Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Mike Missanelli.
I feel there's going to be a little slippage. They won the Super Bowl. Isn't that?
Fanatics Knockout Tournament is your chance to shoot hoops on the Sixers court. And you're now 6 days away. You could be the one to knock out one of the Fanatic host or producers. You're looking for bragging rights at this year's event. You want to get in? Listen weekdays. You're going to get the keyword on each of our shows. Us, the Mike Missanelli Show, the best show ever. Enter that keyword on the contest page at 975thefanatic.com by the end of the day, and we'll pick a winner for every show each day, and you'll get 2 tickets to the game, and one winner gets to play knockout. Someone else gets to watch from the stands. Thanks, Barlow Chevrolet in Delran, New Jersey, for honest pricing and detailed service. Word of the day, Connor. When you visit 975thefanatic.com for complete rules, our word of the day is
Move.
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 Move. So be ready to move.
It's not tip anymore.
Be ready to
No,
go.
it's not. Are you sad that it's not tip again today?
You liked it?
I
Yeah.
did like that one.
Damn 15-year-old back there.
Be ready to move.
He's never eaten fish.
You've never eaten fish, and we'll get to that a little bit later. Hey, are any of the young Birds defensive players really ready to lead? Now, leading by example, I can tell you from watching the Georgia Dogs playing on the Birds, I saw many of them transcend from high school signing day to getting to Athens, where I really think the transition to Vic Fangio was easy because, as I would tell you, they would get dog cussed on a random Tuesday or Wednesday. Those guys were coached hard, and it's obviously something that they liked. They transcended enough to be able to then win national championships at the University of Georgia. But when things get rough at the pro level, who's going to steady the ship? Who's going to be the guy? And if you were to guess right now, Connor, who is it?
Well, it would probably not be a player. The first place I go is Vic Fangio, and that's obvious. But
That has to be obvious, yes.
But if we're talking about a specific player, it's wild. The guy that may be most ready for leadership on this Eagles defense could be Reed Blankenship.
Okay, now the only question I've got, and I am not trying to degrade Reed at all because he's a very nice player, but if you were stacking up the talent, I'm going to try to be as positive as possible. You're stacking up the talent on the defensive side of the ball. You got 11 guys. Is Reed Blankenship in the top 7?
I don't think so. He's close to that line.
So in the locker rooms you've been in a business setting, can the 8th best salesperson go in and tell the sales team struggling or something? The 8th best salesperson stands up and goes, "You know what, you guys, this is what you need to be doing." I wonder about that.
It's a lot more rare. Now, I think it's possible in a professional locker room because the margin of difference is minimal, right? On, like, say, a small level college baseball team.
Right, like a D3 scrub team.
If you're the best player, you're the best damn player. And, like, you know it, and your teammates know it, and the school knows it, and the conference knows it. In the NFL, if you're the 7th or 8th best player on the number 1 championship-winning defense, you're probably still a damn good player who led at some point in your career. So it's not impossible, but I don't love that that's where my mind goes as far as the guy that might have the most seniority and leadership experience. And it's not a knock on Reed Blankenship.
No.
I look at this defense and I say they need somebody else to step into that role.
The secondary players talked about the difference that Darius Slay made for them. And I wonder, at a very affordable number, whether Darius Slay may have been a good bridge. Just with all the other guys leaving, but they're confident they can cover it talent-wise.
Yeah.
But will you be missing something? Whether we think he's a leader or not on the podcast.
Right. I don't
Exactly.
think leadership matters to the Eagles very much on the defensive side of the ball when it comes to how they put this team together because you have Vic Fangio. So ultimately our concerns may be covered by the guy with the most experience on the defensive side of the ball in the NFL, but that's a wait-and-see kind of thing.
610-632-0975. B. Gunn will check some of the your texts as you get in on the conversation with us. Connor had an observation on the upcoming Phillies season yesterday that can be encouraging and disheartening in the exact same breath. We'll get to that next. Kincade Salciunas on the Fan.
Fanatic Sports Update. Update.
Another need for the Birds. I'm Brendan Gunn with your Fanatic Sports Update. It's been a busy offseason so far for the Eagles as they have had departures of key free agents in Josh Sweat and Milton Williams, trading away C.J. Gardner-Johnson, signing players like Azeez Ojulari, and extending current players like Saquon Barkley and Lane Johnson. But Barrett Brooks from NBC Sports Philadelphia joined the best show ever yesterday and said there's one position he still thinks the team should address.
I really think it's that safety position. We need a guy right now come in and be that a veteran type of guy, can do both. You know, not just be that box safety, the strong safety, but also be that free safety to roam around.
So we'll see what they do with that position. The Sixers, they lost another one last night, this time to the Oklahoma City Thunder by a score of 133-100. Quentin Grimes once again led the way for the Sixers with 28 points. They're back in action tomorrow, still on the road against the San Antonio Spurs. The Flyers, they hit the ice again tonight when they take on the Washington Capitals. That game can be heard right here on the Fanatic starting at 7. And then 1 week from today, the Phillies open their season on opening day against the Washington Nationals down in Washington as well. And the NCAA tournament begins today at 12:15. Let the March Madness begin. This update was brought to you by Allstate. Some people just know you could save money on car insurance by checking Allstate first. So what are you waiting for? Check Allstate first for a quote today. You're in good hands with Allstate. I'm Brendan Gunn on the home of the 76ers and the Flyers. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Vacation? Business trip? Don't worry. You can still hear all your favorite Fanatic shows no matter where you go. The 97.5 The Fanatic app. Philly sports in the palm of your hand.
And during that hour, we will also have Andrew Pacheco joining us.
Busy day here on Kincade Salciunas.
Kevin Nagandi later. I mean, it should be a busy morning. We appreciate you being in with us. We asked the question at the beginning of the show, and Jimmy Kempski pointed it out yesterday, and I honestly was like, what? Because I knew how young the Eagles were going to be this year. And Jimmy Kempski puts out the tweet that they have 4 players on the roster that are 30. I mean, 30 years old or more. It's absurd how young they are. It's amazing. And one of them, Dallas Goedert, may be exiting. One of them's going to be your new long snapper. One of them's your kicker. And then you've got old man Lane. You got Lane Johnson there. Do you worry at all about the youth on this roster being able to carry the expectations of what this city's going to be looking for next year if adversity hits like it hit this year? Brendan Gunn on the text line at 610-632-0975. What are people saying this morning?
Yeah, we got a first-time texter, Derek in Downingtown. He says Zach Bond has leader written all over him. It was obvious from the behind-the-scenes clips of the Super Bowl that he has the leadership qualities in him already. And after signing a large contract in the offseason, who better to ascend to that role?
Okay, the mic'd up. If you didn't fall in love a little bit with Zach Bond,
Yeah,
you
he's
realized I wasn't around him that much, and I was down the games, but not around him to see it. He's very vocal. He's constantly talking.
I mean, listen, middle linebacker. Once Nakobe Dean went down, he's the voice of that defense. And that's the other guy. Like, you look at the linebacker position in football as kind of this captain of the defense, right? That's the general idea, at least it has been in football history. But the Eagles, they have not had those true leadership linebackers in a while. So
Trotz, the last one?
I guess so, yeah.
I mean, is that the last?
D'Amico Ryans maybe for a year or two.
Yeah, but you see, that was like to me, that's a cup
flash
of coffee.
in a pan.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, exactly. So you're looking at maybe leadership is coming back to the Eagles linebacker position where a lot of other NFL teams have found it. I don't think Zach Bond could not be a leader. That's not what I'm saying when I worry about it. I just haven't seen him do that. He's gone from guy on the fringe of the New Orleans Saints roster to all-pro linebacker in a year, and sometimes talent doesn't translate to leadership, and we've got to see.
Anyone else there, Brendan?
Yeah, we got another first-time texter, Terrell, checking in, saying the obvious player on the defense who can lead is Nakobe Dean. He was a leader at Georgia, and a lot of the players are still there from that exact defense.
I can tell you that Kirby Smart says smartest player he ever coached, which is a huge. When someone says you're smart, like someone calls up Scott Masteller. They're never our boss. I don't think Scott's saying smartest guy I ever had was Kincade. But I mean, if I heard smartest, I would always take that as like the supreme compliment. Like he is. I wonder, can Nakobe become the leader of the defense on the final year of his contract with no extension?
That's the tough thing. Now, also, depending on how healthy he is.
If he's not around in the offseason.
Right. If this team gets rolling without him, there's going to be a leadership structure in place, and that's not to say that he's not going to have a say in the locker room.
Sure.
But you build this type of stuff in OTAs and training camp and preseason, and the early parts of the season is where you build the trust. So when the big moments come, you get into a situation where you trust those voices you've heard all year. Now, Nakobe Dean was with all these guys last year and was a leader of last year's team. So he would probably be my pick if health was involved.
If health was involved.
But unfortunately, right now, that's up in the air.
How about one more?
Yeah, ironically, all three we got so far.
First time
different. They're all different people.
Welcome in.
We got Joe checking in saying Q talks a lot of trash from the behind the scenes videos. Do you guys think that would equate to a leader on the field?
I think Quinyon is, though, very quiet. And we'll talk to Andrew Pacheco about this later. He's a very quiet dude. So I just wonder if he trash talks, but he's not really a vocal spokesperson. He's not Darius Slay. He's got all the talent to be Darius Slay, but he's not.
And unless you're a rookie coming into the NFL as a quarterback and a franchise quarterback or like a first-round selection, you don't really even get the opportunity to lead.
Sure.
Because no one's looking to Quinyon Mitchell for what the defense should be doing. They're looking at him as a great player. They're looking at the potential of the talent. But in that locker room, no one expected him to. No one asked him to. And he was not required to lead last year. He had a great year, and I'm not saying he can't, but you don't see rookie corners come in and just start running a defense. It's not the position, and it's not what the ask is.
Okay, sometimes people put, when you get like the brain worm of a song in your head? When someone's whistling a song or singing a song and you can't get it out of your head?
I've got it right now with One Shining Moment.
Really? Well, that's good because I hate that song.
Ernie Day. Oh,
Connor Thomas says something yesterday, and it bothered me. Like, it bothered me because I like to know where I stand on something. And Connor made a statement about the 2025 Philadelphia Phillies.
it could be a bad year to have a great year.
Okay. In that statement, I go, my first instinct is, okay, that does not make sense.
Yes, I know. Let me tell you why it could be a bad year to have a great year. We kind of touched on it yesterday, but we didn't go fully into the thought process. Basically, this is Los Angeles Dodgers and Philadelphia Phillies centric. This may be, and something that I'll put out there to preface this conversation. You can't look and say, oh, there's this great team in X sport, so this is not a year for us to try and compete. Like, no, if you have a window, you take advantage of that window to the fullest, regardless of your competition. But this could be one of those years where the Phillies could go out and win 95, 96 games and win the NL East and look like a great team and have an awesome pitching staff and get to the NLCS and get steamrolled. And we may walk out of that series and say, man, I'm actually proud of this team. I can't fault them for anything because the defending World Series champions who just got much better this offseason are just that good. And I wonder if teams are looking at the status of the National League and saying, with the Los Angeles Dodgers juggernaut out there on the West Coast, is this one of those years where being a great team only gets you so far because there's an elite level team that could kill your dreams?
You got a thought of that, you can text us in at 610-632-0975. All I say about that is this, is when it's talking about this year, and that's what sort of stuck in my head as I was stewing it over, the Dodgers aren't going anywhere. Like,
No.
It's not just 25. If we're worried about the Dodgers being this juggernaut, a mountain that you can't climb, there's no reason to think in 26 they're dropping off.
We don't know that yet. That's the thing. You could see injuries happen over the course of the season. That applies to this one. And this is also why this is not a give up on the season conversation. But if somebody has Tommy John, if somebody has something go wrong in that pitching staff or one of their big guys, like, you never know. They're not the world's youngest team. So they do have guys that who knows what they look like in the future. I'm not ready to start to even think about 2026 yet, but I know for this year, they are a major problem for everybody in baseball. And if you're the Phillies, how much, even if they were like this, take away the worries about the offensive approach in the postseason and the worries that you have about this team's ability to show up when it matters most.
Okay, I'm going to need Will Smith to show up with the shine the light into my head. Yeah, to have me not worry about them facing their collapse.
Even if you had like the perfect version of this Philadelphia Phillies team, you'd still be nervous that the Dodgers are waiting for you.
Does that allow them to play freer? I mean, you go back to what Nick Castellanos said a little bit ago in the beginning of spring training. He said the whole regular season was going to be pressure-free. I don't necessarily buy into that. But if you get to the NLCS and you're not their favorite, you're not expected to win, does that allow them to go out there and say, hell with it, I'm going to swing away and I'm going to do what I can instead of having that monkey on their back?
It may. It very well could. And I think that's part of where Nick Castellanos' conversation came from. The Phillies didn't make any big moves. The Dodgers made a couple more on top of being the defending World Series champions. So the ethos of Nick Castellanos' comments about less pressure this year, nobody's talking about the Phillies, I think is because of a lot of that conversation is centered around the West Coast.
I got to tell you, it bothered me big time yesterday. A week to opening day, that Ranger Suarez is hurt again.
Yeah, that's a problem.
Are we finding out why the Phillies have not extended Ranger Suarez?
We already found out. Because last year, remember, Aaron Nola makes the free agency. They re-sign him.
Sure.
Zach Wheeler gets his extension the year before he's set to get there. And then the next logical step is, when do they extend Ranger? And they bypassed him to give Christopher Sanchez the deal.
Which I love, by the way, and you loved it too.
Makes a lot of sense now because that tells you, hey, we're going to let this guy play out his contract here and then let him hit free agency because the durability is a major question.
So, Phillies fans, is it a bad year to have a great year? Is that how it should be worded?
That's perfectly worded.
Is it a bad year to have a great? No. I'm like, okay, give me a great year, and then I'll worry about it in October.
Absolutely.
I'll check back with you, CT18. It's on his front and his back today. Hey, And despite all of their personnel losses, how do you think Vegas views the 2025 Eagles after everybody they've lost? The answer may surprise you. Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Tyrone Johnson.
We can't be so... absolutely energized me.
Feels like tournament season, feels like baseball season, feels like spring.
Dude, I
love
checked
it.
the weather yesterday, though, and on opening day, it was projected to snow a little bit
Oh, you what?
next Thursday.
It's going to snow in Washington?
Hopefully not. Here it might.
Well, hopefully. I don't care. I mean, they're in Washington. What do I care? It's only, even though
It's not too far.
it's such a short drive. You know,
Break
so.
out the old Jimmy Rollins hat with the flaps and get after
What
it,
about for
boys.
game 2, which is when I'm going on Saturday? That's what I want to see. Hey, let's check the text line. Connor makes a statement. Now, Connor's routinely can make statements that baffle you. But yesterday, I didn't know what to make of your statement, and your statement was?
Got a weird brain.
You do.
My statement, not that one, was it may be a bad year to have a great year.
For the Philadelphia Phillies.
Yes.
And we have anything on the text line on that there?
Yeah, we got somebody checking in saying, John V, as a matter of fact, saying, man, I'm feeling down a little bit after that. I don't know if anybody else does after hearing that. And now I have the soft spot for Ranger. He's been solid and reliable his whole career for us. To think he's on the decline and possibly on the way out hurts and makes me sad.
Okay, everything is good except the word reliable. He has not been. Now, his performance when he pitches,
Right.
I've been
Well-
really impressed with. But reliability, if you can't play, if you constantly break down, if you show up every single March and seem to have something that keeps you from being able to be fired off and ready to go, or if last year you show up and you're ready to go and you crap out by the first Saturday in June, that's not reliable.
Well, if he has issues every year, it's reliable in the negative sense.
Yeah, that is
But
it's also.
I would call Ranger Suarez, in a way, reliable because when he's available, you know what you're getting out of him.
The minute you say when he's available,
Well,
though, the
that's-
reliability goes out the window.
I would use a different term
Okay.
to differentiate that. I would say his availability is a major question and has been in his Phillies tenure. But when he's on the mound, like
I
unreliable.
love him on the mound.
Absolutely. Unreliable, and it's not fair. This is unreliable at an elite level. Is a guy like Aaron Nola, who when he goes out there, the fan base is like, are we getting 6 earned Aaron Nola today, or are we getting 8 innings of one-hit ball Aaron Nola today? He's a guy that can be more of a mixed bag.
More
Suarez-
volatile.
Exactly. Ranger Suarez is stable when he's available. The problem is the durability of Ranger Suarez. Now, the thing with him is, like, he's in such a weird spot. If this happened to a lot of other players in Philadelphia, where every single year it seems there's something that happens where the guy can't be available for a certain stretch of the season, we would crush that player. We love Ranger so
No,
much
everybody
in
loves Ranger.
spite of what he does. That almost speaks to the talent level he has when he is available. So it's interesting that people haven't taken him to task as much, even though for other players who are not reliable in this city as far as being on the field when they need to, or court, or ice, like, it's funny how we look at this guy because of how good he has been when he's been on the field.
There were questions yesterday when it came up on the Major League Baseball MLB Network show that they do sort of like their Sports Center. The question was made is conditioning with Ranger. And I absolutely think that that's been part of it with him. He's
Some.
not exactly,
He's not Baywatch. He's not
No.
out there all jacked up.
No, and you don't
six-pack,
have to
everything.
be. But there's been a lot of muscle pulls and strains and stuff like that may not be properly.
And listen, I'm assuming here, and that's always a
Sure.
dangerous thing to do when you don't have the personal knowledge of the situation. But I look at the guy's personality, the very easygoing, calm, nothing bothers him thing, and I wonder if he's just one of those laid-back guys that might not take it seriously enough at this point. It may take him going to free agency and understanding what his market is versus what his talent level is when he's available to wake him up and say, hey, you might have to do something different with your routine. Now, that doesn't mean when Ranger Suarez is available for the Phillies this year, he isn't going to be great again. I think he is. But when will that be? You already got back issues in March. That's a problem.
You got to smell my pullover.
Yeah, you were like sniffing yourself.
I
over
started
there.
to sniff it. It's the Buff City soap. I'm telling you,
You're in love with this soap.
this stuff is wild. It's absolutely wild. I caught a whiff of my own, pullover there. All right, the Eagles. I want you to mind. Have you read it? B Gun or not? Don't look. Okay,
Have
you've not
not.
read it. Connor, have you read it or not?
I was just peeking at it.
Okay, okay. If I said to you and everybody in the listening audience right now, the Las Vegas casinos, MGM Resorts, puts out there across all their casinos. It's the same line if you go to MGM Grand or you go to one of their other hotels, Bellagio or whatever. If I told you the Eagles have lost who they've lost, what are their odds to win the NFC? Are they still the favorites to win the NFC?
I'd say yes.
Yeah, I would also say yes.
Are they the odds to win the Super Bowl?
I'd say yes to that as well.
So probably yes, because they're the favorite in the NFC in my mind, and there's only one or two other teams that can knock them off. AFC's a little bit tough.
A little tougher because of the terrain.
That's smart out of you, Begon. Next level thinking.
Everything we've lost, every player that's gone by, and all the time we've spent talking about it. The Eagles yesterday, on St. Joseph's Day, were 3-1 odds to win the NFC and the best odds to win the Super Bowl.
3-1 is kind of crazy to me.
That's low.
I would think plus 500, plus 550.
3-1 odds to win the NFC is, how about this? And Connor's very observant there. It's the lowest in a while. Like lowest odds that an NFC team has had. In fact, it's one of the 3 lowest in the NFC this century. At this time frame. So March.
Yeah.
It is one of the 3 lowest odds to win the NFC this century.
That's crazy because I don't even think this is the final form of the Eagles roster. Like, I think it's going to get better before open.
So do I.
The first weekend.
You know who's right behind them?
Washington?
I would still give
sorry,
respect
Detroit.
to Kansas City.
Detroit. No.
we're
I'm
talking
sorry.
NFC.
NFC.
Okay.
Eagles are 3-1. They love the Lions. Lions are 4-1.
We'll see with the coaching.
Exactly. It then drops down to 7.5-1. And who's the team? It blew my mind. It blew my mind.
So then it's not Washington there?
It's not Washington.
Minnesota?
It's not Minnesota.
Green Bay?
It's not Green Bay.
Tampa?
It's not Tampa.
Who is it?
The 49ers.
What?
They have the 49ers.
Who's even on that team
No,
anymore?
I know what this is. Vegas is too caught up with the tournament, and they haven't realized that the 49ers are going to stink this year. If you could take the under, I got to see what their over-under on win total is right now, if that's out. It's probably not out yet.
I'm sure it is.
Is it?
No, not yet, probably. They wait till after, usually when the schedule comes out, they do it.
But if that shows double digits, give me the under.
Okay, 49ers are 7.5-1. Commanders come in 4th place, 8-1. And then tied for 5th place, the Packers and the Rams are 10-1.
There's no way the Rams should be below the 49ers. There's just no way as it sits right now.
The Rams 7.5-1. I mean, 10-1. The 49ers 7.5-1.
Could be schedule related. Rams playing a first place schedule out there in the West. The 49ers had a rough year. They may get an advantageous one. I haven't seen who they play yet, but that is crazy.
Yeah, they were a 10-win division champion team.
Yeah.
Rams.
So we'll see. I don't love that for the Niners. I love it for the Eagles. And it reminds you how good they are compared to their peers.
All right, the NFL Competition Committee is going to decide if the Green Bay Packers are wimps or not. You're going to decide for yourself coming up. Kincade Salciunas on the Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
A potential need for the Birds. I'm Brendan Gunn with your Fanatic Sports Update. It's been a busy offseason so far for the Eagles with departures of key free agents and Josh Sweat and Milton Williams, trading away C.J. Gardner-Johnson, signing players like Azeez Ojulari, and extending current players like Saquon Barkley and Lane Johnson. But Barrett Brooks from NBC Sports Philadelphia joined the best show ever yesterday and said there's one position he still thinks the Birds should address.
I really think it's that safety position. We need a guy right now come in and be a veteran type of guy, can do both. You know, not just be that box safety, the strong safety, but also be that free safety to roam around.
So we'll see what the Birds do with that position later on in the offseason. The Sixers, though, they lost another one last night. This time it was to the OKC Thunder by a score of 133-100. Quentin Grimes once again led the way for the Sixers with 28 points. They're back in action again tomorrow in Texas against the San Antonio Spurs. The Flyers, though, they hit the ice tonight against the Washington Capitals, and that game can be heard right here on the Fanatic starting at 7 p.m. tonight. 1 week from today, though, the Phillies are also down in Washington when opening day takes place next Thursday against the Washington Nationals, and the NCAA tournament begins today. Let the March Madness finally begin. This update was brought to you by Bradford White Water Heaters. When you need a new water heater, choose one that is built to be the best. Choose Bradford White. I'm Brendan Gunn on the home of the 76ers and the Flyers, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Philadelphia Union.
television show that I enjoyed watching a few years back. And Netflix is bringing it back. Quarterback.
Oh, yeah.
It's coming back. Netflix did this last season. So it's already filmed and put together. So now it'll be coming out. If I said to you, Brendan Gunn, are you reading? I sort of want you to read, but I don't want you to read. Do you know who the quarterbacks that are going to be featured in Quarterback for Netflix?
No, they're bringing it back. I had no idea they were even doing that.
Yes, they're bringing it back. 3 quarterbacks in the NFL. Connor?
I read the show sheet, so
Oh, you
I
did.
know. So Brendan Gunn's got to be our.
It's got to be
gerbil
down on
here.
the totem pole, right?
Okay, go on. Well, no, down on the totem pole, by the way, is the misnomer. The person who is the most revered is at the bottom of the totem pole, not the top. Did you know that?
Now you know your totem
See,
pole
now
history
I know
right
my
there.
Native American history. The most hallowed person is the bottom of the totem pole, and then it's built above.
Okay, so
So
it's
go
got to
on.
be the top of the
So
totem
who is?
pole.
What are you saying? Give me a quarterback that's participating.
Let's see. Who's at the bottom? Let's see.
Come on, NFL quarterbacks.
Just name a quarterback. Any quarterback.
I know. I'm
This
trying to
is
think of
dragging
who would
you.
be in it. All right.
Just take a guess.
Baker Mayfield.
Baker Mayfield is not on the list.
They got to have somebody that's very, very good. That's like close to MVP caliber.
Yeah,
guy.
I know that's the idea.
Okay.
That has like a journeyman. Sam Darnold.
No, that would have been. But I think
Darnold would've been
I don't
interesting.
think they would have predicted him at the beginning of last year.
No, and they had to
It's-
decide early.
Okay, what do you want? You want a matinee idol type person. So, Gunner,
Who's the pretty boy quarterback that
pretty boy
everybody wants
quarterback.
to watch?
Everybody will want to watch him.
Stafford.
Pretty boy? Oh my God, he'd punch you. Joe Burrow.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Jeez, I'm telling you, this is like
Stafford's got his like fake teeth now. He looks like a crazy person with his backwards hat
is
popping
like-
up on podcasts.
this is worse than
So
you.
it's Burrow.
This is worse than B Gun taking the SAT. All right, another quarterback, Jared Goff.
Yeah.
And I want to see that, and especially after the way the Lions season went,
Yeah.
I want to see it. You don't. You're another one of the degraders of Jared
No,
Goff.
no. I
You
think he's a
sorta
nice
do, though.
quarterback. He's boring to me.
Okay.
So is the other guy on this list.
By the way, you've seen Jared Goff's wife.
Yeah. Like, I got you.
She'll be part of the show.
If they were doing his wife's documentary.
No, but his wife is going to be a big part of the show. And the third quarterback will make you gag. Just stupid. Dumb. Bad decision.
It's a repeat.
Kirk Cousins is back.
Again?
My gosh, Kirk Cousins is so boring. He's not Frosted Flakes. He's the Corn Flakes. You know, the knock, like the Kellogg's gives you the one that is going to be good for you.
How's it like?
He's shredded wheat. He's shredded wheat, and
He's
not
being
the
held
frosted
hostage
kind.
right now. What are they going to document? Like
Well,
he's a backup.
No, it's last year. Remember, it shows you
they
the
already
year
filmed
before.
It. Okay.
Yeah.
Already
I
filmed.
thought it was going into next season.
Oh no.
Got it.
But it's the year where he once again quits on a team.
Yeah.
He's just it's bad.
I would have liked, like, if I picked my top 3, I would like to see Lamar, Baker, Jameis Winston.
Okay, I think that would be really interesting.
You get personality out the ass with those
The thing is,
guys.
Jameis didn't play enough.
I know,
Did he?
but still, he's Jameis. So, like, I don't need Jameis to play football. I just need him to talk on my TV more often.
Jalen Hurts is never doing this show.
No shot.
He's never doing
They
it.
wouldn't want him to. What are you going to watch with Jalen
Well, wait a
Hurts?
minute.
I don't want him to do it.
Jared Goff's pretty boring.
Yeah,
We're going to find out.
but
we
Jalen
don't know.
Hurts.
We don't know if Joe Burrow's boring.
Jared Goff is boring for a multi-millionaire face of a franchise NFL quarterback. Jalen Hurts is boring for average everyday person. I don't say that in a bad way. That's just his personality. He's not
No.
like he's going to be doing the same stuff every day. Weight room, not say a word to the camera. Practice, not say a word to the camera. Do some stuff with the community. That'll be cool to see the personality. But Jalen Hurts, like, we get Jalen Hurts when we see him behind the microphone, which is who he is, I imagine, most of the time. Keep the main thing the main thing.
You're listening to WPN and WPN HD1 Burlington, Philadelphia. We're a Beasley Media Group station broadcasting live from the Comcast Business Studio where you're powering possibilities. So as we begin the 7 o'clock hour, the NFL Competition Committee is suggesting 3 rule changes. So teams submit their request to change things up. I'm going to go from the bottom first. First, the Eagles proposed something. Change the overtime rules of the regular season to match the postseason. which guarantees both teams get a possession, and they change overtime to 15 minutes.
I don't mind that.
Why would anybody stand in blockage of that? Like, I can't imagine what team would be against it.
I would guess that the criticism against that is lengthening potential regular season games. You don't want to have to play that full extra time or the extra time that would be added with that new rule for worry about injury or wear down. So maybe just get out of there in the regular season with the one possession rule. But
do you think it passes? Overtime, both teams touch the ball, guaranteed, in the regular season, and it goes from 10 minutes to 15.
it has the most precedent.
I think it passes.
Yeah, I would see that one go.
Okay, number 2. The Lions, by the way, the Eagles proposed that, so it might happen. The Lions put a proposal out. They want to remove automatic first down for defensive holding and illegal contact penalties. They just want to make it yardage. So if you're in a 3rd and 12, you're in a 3rd and 17, and you get a penalty for holding, they would then give you, it would be 3rd and 7.
Right.
It wouldn't be an automatic first down.
I don't like it.
I'm all for it.
Yeah?
Yes, I hate it. I hate it when you get a penalty 42 yards down the field and they move it down the field 42 yards.
So you'd rather have the college pass interference rule?
Yeah, I
and
don't.
everything like
I
that.
don't want. I don't want it to be an automatic first down for defensive hold.
Well, here's the problem. Because the NFL, they're too fast, they're too talented. Dudes are just going to hold. If you're in 3rd and 10 and you're going to get beat, you're just going to tackle the guy. And then guess what? 5-yard penalty, replay, get a better play out there, and you save a major, major play. That's why I don't like the college rule, because you tackle a dude 60 yards down the field on what would have been a touchdown, and you get, 15 yards out of it?
Well, I guess you can't. The idea being you can't assume the touchdown.
Right. I got you.
You can't assume a guy's catching it. You can't assume the throw's going to be perfect.
Yeah, but in the NFL, it's easier to assume than in the college game because the talent level is higher. By the way, the Lions, they were the ones who proposed this. Give me a wild guess as to who had, by far, the most of these penalties last year.
Then that is the Lions?
Absolutely.
And by the way, then the Lions would have no shot at getting this passed then.
Yeah, they had
Because nobody's going to do anything to help the Lions.
They had 26 instances of this, and the next highest were 2 teams at 23, and everyone else was in the teens.
Really?
Yes. So the Lions just want to get rid of a rule that they can't seem to stay away from committing that foul.
You just put it on the tee. Now, I know you played golf the other day. You just put it on the tee for the final one. The Green Bay Packers have put in that they want to ban the tush push or the brotherly shove.
Wah.
They also, the Packers announced yesterday that they have removed all the urinals in Lambeau Field. So everybody has to sit from now on. No more urinals. You must sit. This is the most embarrassing thing to me. But isn't it sort of what the Lions are doing? The Lions want to put in a rule that is going to hopefully benefit them. The Packers are being punitive. It's like, we can't stop it. It needs to stop. Why would they agree to be the poster boys of whining about the Eagles? I don't understand it.
I think there is this undercurrent in the NFL where teams are starting to come to the side that the Packers find themselves on, which is the tush push is an unfair advantage for the Eagles. It's soft, it's loser stuff, and it's not going to get banned this year. I'm telling you.
See, I do not believe it will be banned either.
It may at some point.
But I'm going to tell you that the wimpy-ass Atlanta Falcons are going to be one of the franchises because Artie Blank and his puppets are going to be like, we need to stop this. We need to stop it. We're getting bullied. And you know what they're going to do, too? The wimpy-ass Atlanta Falcons are going to join the Green Bay Packers, brothers in arms, and they'll be one of those teams that, this is an unfair advantage. And by the way, the head of the competition committee, president of the Falcons, for many, many years, Rich McKay, it is going to be, they're going to push for this. I don't believe there's a chance they get enough votes.
No, not this year. Now,
Not this year.
They're going to get more this time around than they did last time. It was a conversation. And eventually, I do think the tush push will be banned at some
So you
point.
do think it's going to be banned?
I do. I don't see this play existing in a decade.
All right, if I said to you, Brendan Gunn, will more teams this year... Okay, let's see the amount of teams that vote against the tush push. Will we see more teams trying to do the tush push than the amount of teams that vote against it when the vote comes out at the owners' meeting?
Yeah, I would say 100%. I would say half those teams that vote against it are going to try it themselves next season, too, when it's not banned.
Where do you think Buffalo falls on it?
Buffalo is
Because Buffalo is one of those teams that, worried about Sean McDermott. I'm worried about injuries. What happened to you, Sean?
They ran it the second most
You did it
last
right.
year. Like,
what
they're
happened to us? You're not worried about injuries.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
Do you
from
think
their
they vote
perspective.
against it or for it?
I think they vote against it.
So they vote against banning. Oh, no, you vote
against banning it. Because
against banning it.
I
Okay.
think Sean McDermott left himself an out with the whole injury thing because once they say, well, there is no data on injuries.
And there isn't.
Like, then he could say, okay, well, then we'll let it go so we can use it. He wants to be against it in face value, but still be able to run it, which is almost softer than where the Green Bay Packers are.
610-632-0975. You can text in your commentary on that. We'd love to hear from you. But we want you to be honest. Do you as a fan have more questions or answers about what the 2025 Phillies are? It's a harder question than you think. Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Mike Missanelli, Bill Colarulo, and Ray Dunn. They have a lot to say about Philadelphia.
Kincade 7 o'clock hour of Kincade Salciunas is brought to you by the Bet Parks online casino and sportsbook app. You can play your favorite casino games and bet sports. You love to play and you play to win. So if you bet Parks, you got to be 21 in Pennsylvania or Jersey. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. I had a lot to spit out there.
You did.
I had a lot to say.
All right. Shout out to Bet Parks.
Love Bet Parks. And I can just tell you, if you have not made plans or you're interested, heading to Parks Casino, it is the best sports book you are going to find, and that includes the Jersey Shore. It is the best sports book as far as you are not going to find more seating, more comfortable seating, where you can literally have like the nice recliners with the cup holders, with the little table. So if you're jotting down your bets and things like that, hang out at Parks. It's a great time.
Especially during the tournament.
Oh, it's always fun. Do the Phillies in 2025, to you, have more answers than questions? It seems like a simple question. Yeah, the Phillies are going to win 90 games. They do. But do they? What did we get yesterday, folks? We got it again. Here's Rob Thompson.
Well, we're going to put Kyle Schwarber today at leadoff. And we're going to do that and we did it on Monday, and we'll let Trey lead off today. And
Why does he got to get the
Sunday,
weird voice?
And then Sunday,
because it's wishy-washy. Because they won't take a stand. They will not take a stand. The president of the club told us we're going to focus on it. No, we got to put Trey at top of the lineup. See what he can do. See how this thing works out. And they don't do it. Well, we'll do it one day. And then the next day, we're going to put Kyle back where he's comfortable because Kyle's comfortable batting leadoff. And we want Bryce. Bryce he can bat second. He's willing to bat second. But Bryce really wants to be a 3-hole hitter because that's what Bryce is. It's so annoying. It is so annoying to me that they won't just take a stand. It does not help you to have a leadoff hitter in baseball one day and then go, well, the next day, this guy will lead off. And the next guy, you don't do it in the regular season, so why are you doing it in spring training at this point when you only have like 4 games left? It makes no sense. You didn't get in a rhythm. You don't get in a pattern. You didn't get comfortable. And what are you going to do? Well, we're getting ready for the opening series against the Nationals. Today, our leadoff hitter's Trey Turner. Tomorrow, our leadoff hitter's Kyle Schwarber. Tomorrow, our leadoff is Trey Turner. It doesn't make sense. Commit to something. Be about something. Take a stand, Connor.
I don't need him to. I don't need him to right now.
Yes, you do, though. But you do.
But I don't. Why do I? What says that the Phillies can't be a successful baseball team by trying both of these things? I mean, they've been incredible win-loss with Kyle Schwarber in the leadoff spot. Trey Turner seems like the more prototypical leadoff hitter. It's not that one of these is a bad option and one of them is a good. They both could be very, very good options for the Philadelphia Phillies this year, and I think they're trying to figure that out.
You already know what Kyle Schwarber is at leadoff. What you don't know is what Trey Turner is. So let Trey Turner do it. If you said to us all winter long, we're committed. Yeah, we got to get Trey a look up there. We got to see because it unlocks Trey. It unlocks Trey what he can do. It opens up the base paths. It allows him to be more aggressive on the base paths. He's a guy who could steal 40 to 50 bases, I was told.
Yeah.
So what are you doing by not trying it? We already know what the Schwarber answer is. If they pencil Schwarber in June as the leadoff hitter, are you comfortable to know what he'll do at leadoff?
Yeah.
He's going to hit some bombs. He's going to not hit for a high average, but he gets a pretty good on-base percentage.
Yeah.
And he looks at some pitches.
We
already know what he is.
On the team last year in on-base percentage.
We don't have to see what he is at leadoff. We already know that answer. That's one of the answers we have.
But here's the thing. We already know what Trey Turner is.
No, we don't.
We do, John. We don't know in Philadelphia if you just look at his Phillies tenure, but batting leadoff with a Phillies jersey on is not different than batting leadoff with the Dodgers jersey on or with the Nationals jersey on. It's batting leadoff at the major league level, and he's done it many times.
Then prove it. Then why would you? Then why, if you've seen that and you know the guy's a 300 type hitter, then why would you bail on it after 14 games?
Because he wasn't a 300 type hitter that year. And
it's 14 games.
It's not like they took him out of the leadoff spot and all of a sudden he was doing stuff from a different place in the lineup that would have been great in the leadoff spot. He had a terrible year that year.
Yeah, I mean,
he didn't get the shot to prove what he is.
I don't think 14 games was enough, but I think they needed to shake something up at that point and then maybe go back to him later on. The issue was Kyle Schwarber kind of came into his own in that leadoff spot, and there was no reason to change it up then. But I think right now, I would like Trey Turner there.
Yeah, I mean, do you remember last year when Harper went on that, like, one of his worst stretches of his career? Okay, 14, 15 game stretch, terrible. Imagine going, man, we got to move Bryce. We know what Bryce is, but we got to move him. Give him a shot. When you brought Trey Turner here, they brought him here to be a leadoff hitter. And they didn't even give him the opportunity to be that.
Well,
they panic moved because the substitute teacher who manages the team is going to be, it's always a little easier when the sub's in. Come on, get the analogy.
Yeah,
there,
I get the analogy, but he's not the sub anymore.
It's always it's a lot easier when the teacher comes in after the bad teacher, everybody, he's too tough. Hey, well, where are you comfortable? Let's make sure everybody's comfortable. Con, are you comfortable this morning?
But Joe Girardi wasn't too tough. Joe Girardi was just bad at his job.
No, he was too tough, though.
He was just bad at his job. He didn't know what he was doing enough to get this team to where they needed to be. Rob Thompson has done that. Like, he absolutely has.
We're talking about a team that was not in the postseason for 10 years.
I understand. In 2022, he absolutely jump-started that team, put the paddles on them, and did what they should have done. In 2023, they did not. They lost to a pathetic Diamondbacks team.
Yeah, but can you blame Rob Thompson for that?
86-win Diamonds. Yes, you can, because it's nonchalance. It's not making adjustments. It's not changing things.
What would you have changed at that point in the series in Game 6 and 7?
No, you don't have to go to Game 6 and 7 to know that the approach at the plate of that team was terrible. We talked about it for months, and they did it again last year.
Yeah, but like the opening game of that very same series that they lost, they scored
was 10-0?
8 runs.
I thought it was like 10-1.
Yeah, I thought they got like 11.
Like 10-1.
You have players that are hot and cold sometimes, and when they're hot, they're really, really good, and when they're cold, they're cold.
Then why do you tell the fan base all winter that you're going to do something different? We're going to take a different approach. We're going to change things up. We know that what we're doing, you can read them all. We know that we've got to change things up. We've got to do things differently. And what are we looking at? They're going to do things exactly the same.
Yeah, well, it's crazy to think about this Phillies team because they are on an upward trajectory when you think about the regular season. What, they won 95 games last year?
95? Was it 95 or 96?
95.
95.
Yeah, and then so they're on an upward trajectory there. They just keep going down and down and down in the postseason. So it's kind of hard to judge it because it did work to the best ability it has all Rob Thompson's career last year in the regular season, and then it stopped.
I'm going to tell you that I'd put $100 on it. The number 2 payroll in baseball probably comes in the 93 to 97 win category every freaking time in the regular season. The number 2 payroll is almost always going to end up being a great team. Almost always. There'll be anomalies, but the majority of time, that's what you're going to do. You bought a team that can win a lot of games against the Marlins and against the bad teams.
Yeah, but they don't just play bad teams in the regular season. They play the good teams too, and they win those games too.
And then what happens when they play them when it counts the most the last 3 years?
They win more than they lose.
What are we counting? Like, what are we saying now?
I'm telling. That's the thing with baseball and with the Philadelphia Phillies and the playoff structure. The Phillies in the postseason win more than they lose. This era of Phillies baseball.
Okay, so we're going to hang a banner. Are we hanging a banner for that?
I'm not telling you.
Oh, the Phillies are 16 and 13 in the postseason.
That's the issue. But they do win more than they lose.
But why do they not win?
Because they go cold.
And what did they tell us during the offseason? We're going to change it up.
And they didn't.
That's what they said. They didn't.
They didn't say we're going to change it up in spring training.
No, they said they're going to change it up. When are they changing it up?
The regular season hasn't even save all of the outrage for when they play damn baseball games that matter at least once, please, for the love of God.
You want to get in? 610-632-0975. You want to share a thought on this? They told us all winter. The change is coming. We're going to try new things. We know we got to change our approach. I don't know. I guess maybe the first game is going to. Well, no, surprise. Now we're going to change. The Eagles lost another championship depth piece. How much are they going to miss him? Kincade Salciunas on the Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Another move for the Birds. I'm Brendan Gunn with your Fanatic Sports Update. Yesterday, Fred Johnson left with the Eagles. He's another one in a busy offseason that has seen some key departures from the free agency class the Eagles had. Milton Williams, Josh Sweat among the others. Then they traded away C.J. Gardner-Johnson. They signed some players like Azeez Ojulari, and then they extended some players on the current roster like Saquon Barkley and Lane Johnson. But Barrett Brooks from NBC Sports Philadelphia joined the best show ever yesterday, and he said there's one position he still thinks the Birds should address.
I really think it's that safety position. We need a guy right now come in and be that a veteran type of guy, can do both. Not just be that box safety, the strong safety, but also be that free safety to roam around.
So we'll see if they do address that in the draft, the rest of free agency, secondary, tertiary free agency classes. The Sixers, though, they lost again last night to the OKC Thunder by a score of 133-100. Quentin Grimes once again led the way for the Sixers with 28 points. They're back in action tomorrow in San Antonio to take on the Spurs. The Flyers, though, they hit the ice again tonight to take on the Washington Capitals. That game can be heard right here on The Fanatic tonight starting at 7. And we are 1 week away from opening day for the Phillies when they open the season in Washington next Thursday against the Nationals. Oh, and by the way, the NCAA tournament starts today at noon, so let the March Madness begin. This update was brought to you by Mercedes-Benz. That feeling of owning your first Mercedes-Benz is hard to believe, but it's real. From the leather stitching to the iconic design, every element of a Mercedes lives up to its reputation. See for yourself at your local dealer. I'm Brendan Gunn on the home of the 76ers and the Flyers, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Opening day is March 27th.
what's going to happen on Kincade Salciunas. I know in an hour we do know what's going to happen. Andrew Salciunas joins us. I know at the top of the hour, Andrew DeCecco joins us for an hour. And I know that Kevin Nagandi will join us in the 9, it looks like. So, I mean, we got a busy day today. But you never know what you're going to hear. And Raider Frank heard something that he just really enjoyed in the last segment. He said, did Connor really just try to sell us that the Phillies win more than they lose in the playoffs?
They do.
What does that mean? What does it mean? What do we have to show for it? As I said, are we hanging a banner?
That's not the argument. I'm with you on that.
I don't know what the argument is if that's the answer because it doesn't make any sense. Who cares if they win more than they lose?
Everyone should.
No, win more series. They got to win the series.
I understand. They win more series than they lose. The argument is...
We're not celebrating getting halfway there.
I'm not celebrating it. I'm stating a fact that people forget in the emotion of the losses and where they happen to tell you that the Phillies are closer than a lot of this fan base gives them credit for. I'm not hanging a banner for it. I'm not throwing a parade for it. I'm not telling you believe in this team more like that. The point is just they're not as far away as it feels to this fan base right now as we sit here. And sometimes you need to take a step back from the emotion of what bothers you about this team to see how they stack up against their peers.
Harold Stottle says on Twitter, the Phillies are a victim of their own success. They've won enough to be confident, but it's blinding them from realizing that they're declining. They're going to do the same things again, but expect different outcomes. It's insanity. At Joe the Cynic, if Schwarber's more comfortable leading off as a career 230 hitter, what would be uncomfortable? 226? I mean, seriously, it doesn't. Again, he says the lineup is as goofy as the Sixers roster when it comes to complimentary players. It doesn't make sense, though.
But that's what I'm talking about. That's so far too far. The Sixers are a damn lottery team this year because their lineup could not work when they were healthy, and they weren't healthy very often. The Phillies are going to win 90-plus games and possibly their division again. Like, to compare the Phillies lineup to the Sixers roster just shows you how misguided the perception of this team is from the fan base. And I do not fault the fan base because I understand emotionally
where
why
it's coming from.
Yeah, I get it. But it's wrong. Like, that comparison right there is the issue with how people are viewing this team. Too critical. And I'm not telling you to say they're World Series champions. I'm saying just be easy a little bit based on the talent level.
Brendan Gunn, let's check the text line at 610-632-0975.
Yeah, we got Mike in Phoenixville checking in on Connor might not like this one either because their Sixers are mentioned in this one. He says, I think we reached a fork in the road with the Phillies. They turn left and they're the Eagles winning the whole thing, or making a run to lose to the juggernaut Dodgers, or you make a right and they turn into the Sixers, a bunch of aging stars that officially became chokers in the postseason.
I don't hate that at all. I think that's the fair place to compare the Phillies and the Sixers.
So you do think we're heading to the exit ramp like you're getting on the turnpike and you got to go east or west?
Yeah.
And it's going to be one of the two.
This is the Celtics series year. You remember where we still had that faith that maybe the Sixers make something happen. Harden's on the team. They played a tight series against a really good basketball team. And then from there, it's kind of like, oh, okay, this shows us you are the second-round exit team people believed and not the true championship contender that we thought you could have looked like.
If this team doesn't advance to the NLCS this year, if their earliest exit is not the Final Four, and they double down on it and come back again next year with pretty much the same core, it's stupidity.
Yeah, it's a failure if they do it. And if that's the result, a divisional or a wild card loss, then they're absolutely, people are right to be worried about
we're
this.
right.
But who's the guys that go? I mean, Schwarber's deal's up.
His deal would
But he's
be
one of the guys I would like to see back.
I think they're going to lock him up. I think you're going to see Kyle Schwarber locked up before it ever comes to that.
Yeah, but Ranger will be gone, who's already got the back stiffness.
What
He
about
may be
JT?
gone anyway. JT would probably go in that situation.
Unless general manager Bryce Harper signs him to a contract.
Now, do they shake
Which we
up?
cannot have again.
Is it just
Cannot
pending
have
free
that.
agents that are going to be let go, or do they shake things up otherwise?
I'd imagine they make a trade somewhere. They move somebody, maybe revisit the Alec Boehm thing. Nick Castellanos heading into the final year of his deal
Sure.
would be a major trade candidate.
And that's easy to move a guy
Absolutely.
with 1 year.
Much easier than the past couple years where his contract still had money on it.
I think Castellanos could be moved at the trade deadline this year.
Oh, absolutely
because
not.
with a year and a half to go,
No.
if he's not doing what they
You would have to get an upgrade, though. I'm not just
who says
moving
they
them
can't?
to move them.
Who says you can't at the trade deadline?
I say you can't.
you can't. You don't think that there's somebody that will be available to trade deadline who can give every bit what Nick Castellanos can give?
You'd have to give up a good amount on top of Nick Castellanos.
Well, you might have to do that. You know what?
You might not chemistry at that point. Like, you need a clear upgrade in my mind at that point.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
Anybody else chiming in?
Yeah, let me get somebody up for you guys.
Okay.
We got, let's see. No name on this one, but he says, if the Phillies have a quote-unquote great season, I truly believe they can go out there and beat anybody. Us fans have been worried about what happens if they go cold, but if they went into last October hot, they could have beat the Dodgers.
Yeah, and if your aunt had, she'd be your uncle.
A whole lot of
I'm
ifs
like,
in that text.
If the queen had a royal scepter, she'd be the king. I mean, seriously, stop it. So we had an exit yesterday from the Birds. And a guy who, very, very fun, just happened to end up at the same resort as he was in Jamaica.
So you're partially to blame for not bringing Fred Johnson back to the Eagles.
I can't help it. Fred was enjoying his time in Jamaica, having a great time, and by the way, a great tipper. So, I mean, we love Fred Johnson for being a champion, but the crew at the resort loved Fred. He was a great tipper and a great guy. He's now a Jacksonville Jaguar. And I haven't seen the number yet, Connor.
I haven't either.
And I'm looking, and I scoured to try to find it during the break. This one surprises me. He stepped in for Lane Johnson. He stepped in, and did a credible job. Not a great, he wasn't Lane Johnson, but he did a credible job. I got to see the numbers on this.
Yeah.
And Jacksonville's going to give him a chance to start. And that may be why he's going to Jacksonville. He may have chosen to go to Jacksonville for similar money in order to have a chance to start. He's on a 1-year deal.
Right.
And then he could prove that he could get a contract next year.
Which is totally fair. Like, if
and
you
I wish
ask
him the
me-
best.
Yeah, absolutely. We have nothing but love for Fred Johnson, what he did. Minimal role on the team compared to some other guys, but he played his part importantly. If he got the opportunity to start in Jacksonville and he looks at the Eagles offer and says, yeah, similar money, but I'd rather play. You can't fault him, and you can't fault the Eagles because he's not starting here. So that's part of the having players locked down all over the offense that you're going to have to stomach as well. Saves you money.
I think a lot of this is doubling down on the coaches the Eagles have on the staff. Mekhi Becton, that wouldn't have killed you if you kept him for what he got out in L.A. A 1-year deal, let's see. I can't imagine Fred Johnson's breaking the bank on a 1-year deal. They're doubling down on Jeff Stoutland that they can get anybody in here and he can get them up and running to at least this, not a quote-unquote starter level, but a replacement level guy. I think he's doubling down on that. Vic Fangio with C.J. Gardner-Johnson, they're doubling down that he can get similar work out of any other safety as well.
So this means that what I've been thinking, an O-tackle has to be coming in maybe the first 2 rounds now?
At least the first 3, but my thought was first 2.
Okay,
as
so
well.
how about first 2 nights?
Yeah, let's
First
do
2
that.
nights, first 3 picks, there has to be an offensive tackle coming in here. But my concern would only be this. I trust Jeff Stoutland. Could find a tomato can and make him somehow credible. But I do wonder, in a year where you're trying to defend a Super Bowl championship, it goes back to our original discussion today. How young is too young? I mean,
yeah, well, you're not young at the position, right? For the guys under 30, here's the cool thing about the Philadelphia Eagles. The young guys aren't that young when it comes to NFL standards. I don't look at Jordan Mailata as a young player.
No.
Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, even Landon Dickerson. I don't look at him as a young player, and he's not old, but
He's
his
not old.
experience and talent level outweighs where he is age-wise. And at the tackle position, you got Mailata on one side, Lane Johnson on the other. That's a lot of damn experience in that position group. So you can get away with being younger on the offense in depth. I worry about it significantly more about the defense.
So we're going to follow that with Fred Johnson and see where they go. I got to see the numbers
Yeah, that's important.
because the numbers really might make me really not like this one.
If it's like 4 or 5 plus,
no, then I'm fine.
No chance. But,
And the thing is, if Fred left because he wanted to have a chance to start, again, I totally get it.
and you can't blame the Eagles. either.
No, you can't blame the Eagles. He makes that decision. I'd be interested to find out a little bit more about that. Connor wanted to ask a question about the upcoming draft and about the college programs they come from. I guess sort of spinning off the Georgia Bulldogs angle we had before. But we also got to check out stuff that didn't make the show sheet because Brendan Gunn's got them for us in today's headlines. It's Kincade Salciunas on the Fanatic.
Tyrone Johnson, Ricky Vitalico, and Silvana Kelleher. The best show ever.
Pacheco's in the building, so you know what's coming. A lot of Birds talk coming your way. Don't miss a minute of it here on 97.5 The Fanatic. I know that we were suggesting something because Brendan Gunn and I like to help out the place whenever we can. Pacheco's weekend show needs a name. It can't just be Fanatic Weekend. It's got to be something Birds. It's got to be something like, we got to come up with something.
We'll workshop
wake
something.
up something.
We'll workshop it.
Wake up with the Birds, something like that, because it's every Saturday morning, 9 to noon. Don't want to miss it.
So we can work up something with the Birds. I mean, this really could work beautifully.
The early bird.
The early
Ooh,
bird.
Look at you. This is smart.
See, that's not bad.
We got to take this conversation off air before someone steals it.
Yeah, exactly. But that's smart, and I appreciate it that Brendan Gunn shares some of those insights with me. The question of your Connor is so jacked for the tourney to be in D-Day.
I love it.
And I'm disappointed that I'm not that jacked. I'm disappointed in myself that I'm not. Used to love it a lot. It's sort of has lost a little bit of its edge for me. But you have a thing about college programs and players and draft interests.
Yeah, and I would love when Andrew joins us for him to talk about this a little as well from the NFL perspective, because it's not just a college basketball conversation, but the tournament made me think about it. And one guy specifically made me think about it, who wore number 25 for the basketball team in this town and finally got to L.A., not the team he wanted to, with the Clippers, Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons was this can't-miss draft prospect. But one of the conversations about him when he came out was his team at LSU did nothing as far as team success.
Well, he did nothing to help them either.
Yeah, and you look at it, and I wonder how much you value team success of a collegiate program when evaluating an individual player. Clearly, the Eagles have made that a priority when you look at how many Georgia Bulldogs from one of the best defenses in college football history they have on the current roster. And you personally, John, and anyone out there listening, I'd love to know, when you look at a great player, do you say, okay, was he also the part of a good organization?
Yeah, because I'm looking at it and I'm saying, did he play against the best talent?
Well, you've got...
if you get, right now, if you get a player that's a great player coming out of Florida,
yeah,
coming out of Tennessee, you know that they played in the toughest, arguably, even Jay Billis is saying it, the deepest conference he's ever seen.
Yeah, the SEC is a monster this year. You look at the Eagles' first-round pick last year, Quinyon Mitchell out of Toledo. I had a lot of people talking to me about that pick, friends, family, and
wondering
stuff like that.
Who he's coming up against.
Guy out of the MAC, the first round. Who has he covered? Who has he played? Who has he seen? And some people bring up he could have transferred to a power conference school. But
Nick Saban wanted him.
But here's the thing, Quinyon Mitchell's a dog, and you could see that individually in spite of the fact that Toledo's Toledo. I wonder where the sliding scale sits for people. If there's ever because Ben Simmons, maybe we missed something there saying, okay, well, he was a talented player, but why didn't his team win? And the tournament definitely makes me think about it. But it is an all sports inclusive conversation where when you evaluate a prospect with the NFL draft coming up in about a month, do you look at the success of the organization, or do you say, I don't care if the team was good if I think this player's that good?
We're going to ask DeCecco to answer that question when he joins us. But first, that's 10 minutes away. But first up, we got today's headlines with Brendan Gunn.
Today's headlines with the one and only Brendan Gunn.
The one and only.
The one and only, and it's brought to you by the one and only Lundy Law. For over 70 years, Lundy Law has been fighting for injured people. If you need them, remember the name Lundy Law. Your injury lawyers, visit LundyLaw.com. That's LundyLaw.com. And we're going to pause this music for a second because today, as John just briefly mentioned, it is March Madness Day. We're going to bring in a remix edition audio version. I need you guys, your Final Four and your national champion.
All right. Wow. I mean, I have 4 brackets. So John hates
it. I absolutely hate that.
But I do have a lot of...
That's such a cop-out.
Well, I don't know what I'm doing. I know a couple of
I know
teams,
you don't know what you're doing. I work with you.
So I'm taking shots in the dark. I really like Duke to win it all. I know a lot of people are high on Florida as well. Look for Michigan State to make a run because Tom Izzo in March, this is his month, March and April now with where the tournament is. But I look at him. And also Houston, we talked a little bit with Amy Fadul about this on Tuesday. They are the best shooting team that they've had and still rebound really well and play defense. This is one of those tournaments that if you go chalk, don't feel as nervous about it this year as you do other years.
I wouldn't feel bad about it.
So I got the Dukies winning it all. Johnny?
So you have Dookie winning it all, eh?
I do.
By the way, I think the fraud #1 team is Auburn.
Yeah, they got weird vibes right now about them.
I'm not a fan of that. But also, I don't like Michigan State coming out of there either. So that's a little odd one there.
Yeah, you're picking against Phil Martelli's son. What kind of Philadelphian are you?
I'm not trying to be mean. I'm not trying to be mean. I actually have a weird sense that Michigan has a chance to come out. I have Michigan coming out of the South, which is a strange one there. I'm going to also go Dukies. So Duke and Michigan squaring off there. And then I got Florida. I got the Florida Gators, who I do have winning it all. So Florida's my choice to win it all. I did not go Houston. I've seen them come up too small too many times. So I'm going to go with the Tennessee Volunteers there.
Tennessee just feels like they always choke. They're that tournament choke team, even when they're talented.
That's Houston, though.
Yeah, it is Houston. They were in the national title, 2 years ago, last year? So we'll see. I mean, there are a lot of great teams.
A lot of great teams.
High-level teams are more high-level this year.
What you got, Big on that?
And then quickly, who's going to be the next Big Five team to break the streak and make it back to March Madness?
Your guess is as good as mine.
I hope it's my Temple Owls. I really do, because I think that their conference path could be easier. That if they get some things straightened out, their conference path to the tournament could be easier.
Yeah, I'm just rooting for anybody. But moving on, we had some astronauts return to Earth the other day. They were stranded up there for about 7 months. They returned safely on Tuesday.
Isn't that nice of us that we got them back?
Thank God.
That we let
yes.
these American citizens come back to Earth?
And they got
during
free
those-
vacation.
They were just asking to come back to Earth to their families.
Those 9 months they were gone. They missed a big game. They missed the Super Bowl. If you guys were stuck up in space, what would be the one sporting event you would be heartbroken over missing? And is it the Super Bowl winning Eagles?
Well, it has to be, right?
Well, are you talking about the Super Bowl event, whether the Eagles are
Your
in it or
team
not?
winning. Your team winning.
Oh, my
like
team
if you
winning.
missed it and you were
it's
stuck in
Eagles.
space.
Yeah, it's
That'd be
Eagles easily.
awful.
I would be a little annoyed to miss the Olympics, if I'm being honest with you. I think the Olympics is a really...
It's out
Are
of
you
left
kidding
field.
me?
What? No, I'm
That's
just-
like out of nowhere.
Yeah, but I'm just saying in general that it's a really fun sport. I've seen a lot of Eagles games and Phillies and Sixers and Flyers, and the Olympics just feels rarer to me. My pick
It
number
comes
one.
around every 4 years.
I did the Olympics, and I covered the Olympics in '96 in Atlanta.
Yeah, that had to be amazing.
I went to events every day except one of the entire Olympics, and was covering events too. Got to go to some events as a fan, go to some events as media. It was an amazing event. I will tell you, I've watched 6 hours of the Olympics since 1996. And it was a big event for me. I've watched 6 minutes of it, like 10 hours of it. Maybe 10 hours.
It just feels a little bit more special than a football game. And here's the thing. That's me picking on top of the Philadelphia Eagles Super Bowl, because I'm picking the Birds 1-1. There's not a debate. But also, outside of that, what's the big Philadelphia
I
sports
can't
event
think
they
of
would
another thing that would just...
I'm so mad I missed that Sixers-Knicks series.
A Red October game. A Red October game if I'm up in space. And I would understand this, B-Gun. Why couldn't I see it in space?
Oh, they definitely were able to watch.
I hope that they
you don't get to experience it down here, the parade.
Yeah, but
John, imagine they win, and then it's finally your time to do the broadcast at the parade.
I'm jumping
And you're
out. I'm
stuck in
spacewalking,
space.
baby.
I can only imagine it. Like, you're up there in space, though. Connor's watching the game, and he's sitting there, and he's checking his betting apps. Do the betting app...
I don't think you can bet in space.
My BetParks app does not work from up there, and Connor's not paying attention, and you're missing the left thruster, and you end up landing on Pluto.
I wouldn't be a good astronaut.
Better
I get
than Uranus
distracted.
with
No,
the
you'd be
thruster.
yeah, that's the truth.
I'll wrap it up with
Stop
the replay.
Is the youth going to be able to lead? And who are going to be the leaders? More on the defensive side of the ball. But if you're believing in the overwhelming youth on the roster being ready to defend the title, who exactly will be those leaders?
Does the leadership only come into play if they get off to a rough start or they hit a rough patch again? Because
It's usually the only time we hear about it, right?
I think next year, I don't know if we're going to hit that rough patch.
Oh,
this team is this good.
They're going to.
I don't know, dude. I don't know if they're going to hit that rough patch like they did the first month of the season this year.
I
where they're going to
guarantee
need
you.
leadership to that level.
What if it's Lions week 1 at home, Buffalo on the road week 2? Like, you could hit it. They're going, by the way, get ready for the word. Gauntlet's back.
Yes, it is.
There's no way they're not going to have a gauntlet part of the schedule next year.
Like, I think
There's
they're
too
going to
many
have
good
time
teams
to
on.
grow into it. I don't
Okay.
think they're going to get off to that rough start
How
to
do-
start the season.
I think it depends on how the schedule lays for them.
I mean, this team's probably going to lose 5 or 6 games, and
If they lose 6, I'm going to be
6
shocked.
games?
dude, look at their schedule.
I am going to be shocked
I'm
if they
telling
lose
you,
6.
12 wins might win the NFC.
No,
There's
that's
going to
fine.
be a point where this Eagles team goes through adversity this year. They're going to need that leadership.
We'll find out what our Birds insider, Andrew DiCecco, has to say. He's back from vacation. He was feet up, not paying attention to anything. Or he says he was, but we're going to test him on it. Is the Eagles roster too young for what we're expecting out of them? I mean, it's unbelievable. 4 players at the age of 30. Also, with all the roster moves that happened while he was away, I wonder if he's liking them. We'll find out. Kincade Salciunas on the Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Another potential need for the Birds. I'm Brendan Gunn with your Fanatic Sports Update. It's been a busy offseason so far for the Eagles with departures in free agency with like Josh Sweat and Milton Williams, trading away C.J. Gardner-Johnson, signing players like Azeez Ojulari, and extending current players on the roster like Saquon Barkley and Lane Johnson. But Barrett Brooks from NBC Sports Philadelphia joined the best show ever yesterday and said there's one position he still thinks the Birds need to address.
I really think it's that safety position. We need a guy right now come in and be that a veteran type of guy, can do both. Not just be that box safety, the strong safety, but also be that free safety to roam around.
So we'll see if they do eventually do that in the draft. Secondary free agency market, we will see. The Sixers, they lost last night again, this time to the OKC Thunder, 133-100. Quentin Grimes once again led the way for the Sixers with 28 points. The Sixers are back in action tomorrow against the San Antonio Spurs as they continue their road trip. The Flyers, though, they hit the ice again tonight against the Washington Capitals. That game can be heard right here on the Fanatic starting at 7 p.m. tonight. And we're 1 week away from opening day, and the Phillies, they also begin their season next Thursday against the Washington Nationals. Oh, guys, the NCAA tournament begins today at noon. Let the March Madness begin. This update was brought to you by Hand & Stone. Hand & Stone pricing starts at $79.95. There's no better time to unwind and relieve stress. Find the spot nearest you at handandstone.com and experience the ultimate relaxation. I'm Brendan Gunn on the home of the 76ers and the Flyers, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Philadelphia sports.
Touchdown! if you're just getting and joining us, and have a safe drive to work. You're listening to WPEN and WPN HD1, Burlington, Philadelphia, Beasley Media Group station. We broadcast live from the Comcast Business Studio, where we're powering possibilities. And we're pleased to be joined by Andrew DiCecco, our man, all birds, just off a birthday. Happy birthday, belated.
Thank you,
and
sir.
Welcome in. Good to see you.
Welcome in, John. Congratulations on the 1-year anniversary of the show.
That's very, very good. And my partner decides to go down to the beach.
Yeah.
And enjoy it. We'll join him at 8:30, so you'll get a chance to scold him for that.
I'm happy to fill in.
He's
We're
having
happy
a
to
great
have
time.
Andrew here.
And Connor's here, which is
we
good.
have the better Andrew here anyway.
What up, CT? How you doing, man?
I'm doing great, man.
I feel like you're the sixth, member of the team, too.
I'm the Tyrone
Honestly.
Barley, and for
No,
those
I-
who remember the
I
St.
think-
Joe's team in
I think
2004.
the best sixth man, if there's a six-man award,
Yeah, 6 man
I
of
think
the
on
year,
our
Andrew
team,
DiCecco.
because we got, because Haley and Gunner fill out that roster really well.
Oh, yeah.
And then we've got, so.
He's our Lou Will, spark plug off the bench. We
It
love
could be Lou Williams. All right. We asked a question earlier at the beginning of the show today, and I know you're a freak, so you're probably up. I say that very fondly, is the Eagles roster, and Jimmy Kempski put it out yesterday, and I've been doing research of how young the roster is, just trying to do the ages of all the other teams this century, and I'm now I have 5 or 6 left. I think I can confidently guess they're going to be the youngest defending Super Bowl champion ever this century. To me, I wonder how young is too young. Jimmy Kempski puts out a tweet yesterday. 4 guys over the age of 30. And one of them, Dallas Goedert, is expected to be gone from a lot of people. How young is too young?
Well, obviously, the average goes way down with the retirement of Brandon Graham. But I would also say this. It is something to be mindful of for sure, because when you hear I was just listening to you rattle off those numbers, it's like, wow. But a lot of these players that they're counting on have played in high leverage moments, right? So it's not something that you have to worry about them being wired or ready for the moment. I think that this team, this nucleus, they're primed and ready to be a force for the years to come. I'm curious to see which way they go in the draft, because the Eagles have done a really good job not only getting talent, but poking and prodding to make sure that they get the right player, making sure that they know what's inside their DNA, their mental makeup. Are they committed to winning? And they've done a really good job at that, and I think that sort of helps that young cause.
Yeah, I mean, that's a very important thing, and they're going to need it a lot of places. They've lost some good depth on this team as well. The Fred Johnson news just came out and everything. And here's the thing, right? This goes into a little bit of the leadership conversation that we were having about mainly the defensive side of the ball. Because, Saquon, Jalen, AJ, Lane, Jordan Mailata on the offensive
We're not
side.
worried about leadership on that side.
No, but on the defense, you kind of look at it and you're like, who's the guy that's most ready to step into a leadership role? Is it Zach Vaughn after one great year? Is it Nakobe Dean coming off an injury where he might not be ready for the start of the season? I mean, outside of those guys, is it Reed Blankenship, who I guess is the most senior member of the Eagles defense going into this year? That's crazy.
Yeah, well, the natural leader is Nakobe Dean. Nakobe Dean's a natural-born leader. I've been pretty consistent with that. Even when he's not on the field, he leads in the locker room. He leads with a conviction, whether it's on the sideline, taking guys aside, commanding rooms. But on the field, I think it'll be Reed Blankenship, especially early in the season. He's somebody else who I asked him about that. I said, I see you on the field. I see you directing traffic. Is that something that comes natural to you? And he said, I've always liked to be the guy who everybody has to hear on the field. He goes, he's kind of quiet off the field, but on the field, he's very vocal. And he was instrumental in helping Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean. So I think that he fits the bill for that. Also, let's not discredit Jordan Davis, because Jordan Davis has done a remarkable job. We talk about him showing signs of, the maturation and his conditioning, but as a leader, he's really he's taken a big step forward there.
First of all, 2 questions. One, when do they have to pick up the 5th-year option for Jordan Davis, if that's going to be? Can they wait till the end of this season coming up?
Yeah, but I still think it's a wait and see with him. I'm not certain that if he turns the corner, John, if he shows that he can be more than a one-dimensional player, then I think you can make a case for that. But they have so many big decisions coming up that it's kind of hard to see that. At least I don't know that that's going to be top of the list.
And if you've got, let's say we talk about Nakobe Dean, or we talk about Reed Blankenship, 2 guys going into the last year of their contracts.
I think Reed Blankenship's primed for an extension. Him and Cam Jurgens.
Like beforehand.
I think Reed and Cam Jurgens are at the top of the front of the line.
Do they like Reed that much? Like, I know he's a nice player, and maybe I'm incepted by Andrew Salciunas, who is not the world's biggest fan of him.
Scandalous with him.
But I like Reed Blankenship as a safety. I don't know if I see him as more than just a guy. With all due respect to the way he's played, he seems like a league average guy at that position, talent-wise. Do they like him more than that?
Well, I view him as a little bit of an above-average player. His high IQ is off the charts, but you'll worry about the limitations in his range, right? But I think that the Eagles, to answer your question, Connor, they think very highly of Reed Blankenship. His ability to grasp the defense, to direct traffic on the back end, to help younger players. And he has a knack for finding the football. All of his interceptions may look the same, but he does have ball skills, and his IQ really helps. And I think if you're Vic Fangio, you have a lot of trust in somebody like that knows your system, knows where to be, and is really assignment sound. Now, the question that I have is he best suited to be a 1 or a 2? And my answer to that would be a 2. But no matter what happens, even if they take a safety in the draft, there's still going to be the Robin to Reed Blankenship's Batman as they try to navigate their way as a rookie.
So Malachi Starks, if it ends up being, by the way, the other dog. So the dog fell. We got Azeez Ojulari, and we're going to ask you about that. But if that other dog came in the draft, would that be a signal to you that they're going to stay with Reed Blankenship still or move on from him if they invest a high draft pick at safety?
Oh, I think that they would still stay with him. I really do believe, John, that Reed's prime for an extension. Okay. Him and Cam Jurgens, like I said, at the front of the list. But they do like him. He's probably best suited to be a 2 because we saw when he was miscast as the top safety, there's a little bit, you put him in conflict a little bit. That's where you're able to exploit his limitations. And he does have limitations in range, but he does bring a lot to the table in terms of acumen and ball skills and just high-level football IQ.
Now, how much when we have this leadership conversation and who could step into that role for the Eagles defense, how much can a coach hold that role? Because we know, like, Vic Fangio is the guy. He's the godfather of the Philadelphia Eagles defense. But there's got to be a voice on the field as well, right? Like, what percentage of that responsibility can even the best coaches hold?
Yeah, I think that you have to strike a balance there, Connor. I think to answer your question, we talked about Reed, but I also do believe that Zach Baun, he's worn the green dot before. I believe that's going to be his role this year. At least, if Nakobe Dean's not ready to go for week 1, Nakobe believes he's going to be ready for week 1, but we have to wait and see on that. But I think Zach Baun has natural leadership skills, and he can communicate with all 3 levels of the defense. And then Vic Fangio, he lets his players kind of go out there and handle business themselves, and they communicate. And I think that's why you saw that defense so cohesive, because you have so many different players that are able to step up and fill those roles.
I told the story that after I got tipped off from a really good source in Georgia football that we were getting another dog in the first week of free agency, and it happened. I immediately called you, first call, and said, who is it? And Azeez Ojulari was what we agreed to. And how do you feel about the move?
Yeah, and I tweeted you. I said, there it is.
There it is.
Because we were just talking about it. But, yeah,
I trust this source really good.
That, to me, is the best of the Eagles' offseason signings outside of Zach Baun. Outside signings. I think Azeez Ojulari, if he can stay healthy, gives you a player that you've seen production from. There's no blind faith there. And I think right now, as the roster stands, he would probably bookend Nolan Smith. And he's a player that I think in the right system, you saw what happened with Mekhi Becton. I think if you're in a successful organization that promotes, positivity, I think he's going to be just fine. And you saw the athletic ability. He has the length, and I think that he's really good at turning the corner. And I think the best is yet to come. Pair him with Jeremiah Washburn, the defensive end and outside linebackers coach, and I think he's going to be just fine. That's a really good signing. And they're going to continue to add to it. I think Josh Uche is best suited to be a 4 right now, which is pretty much what he's going to be, because I have questions about that. But Azeez Ojulari, I think they really knocked that one out of the park.
So you think Azeez Ojulari has a significantly higher upside? And we're just talking because I know age difference between those guys. Just looking at this next season, his upside is significantly higher than Josh Uche?
Definitely. Even in terms of run support, I think that he's shown more consistency when he's been on the field. Josh Uche is sort of an enigma. You don't really know what you're getting. You saw the high-end production a couple of years ago. It really tailed off. Possibly he wasn't a scheme fit. There were reports that maybe he didn't buy into the system with the Kansas City Chiefs. We'll have to wait and see. Sometimes when you're in a winning organization, that changes your perspective. But I do have questions about his viability in fitting in this defense.
All right, Andrew Jacheco has questions. And you're going to have questions, too. So you can text them into us at 610-632-0975. and get those questions. We'll try to get to as many of them as we can when Andrew's on the air with us. I'm going to ask Andrew to be Howie Roseman this morning. Would he pull the trigger on a trade and extension for another dog, Trayvon Walker? Or could there be reasons not to do it? It's Kincade and Salciunas on the Fanatic.
The Philadelphia 76ers.
Sixers win. Play that.
Great Thursday morning. We always enjoy it when the 6-man award is with us. Andrew Pacheco. as he joins us live in studio. Hopefully, he'll be the host of Early Birds.
I love that. Love that.
You think I could bully this to be the title? B-Gun, you think there's going to be no
I think
pushback?
you should.
I think it's a
What
great
do you think, B-Gun? You like it?
The early bird.
Early Bird or Early Birds.
Come get the word on the early bird.
But I think Early Birds with Andrew DeCecco works Saturday mornings now 9 to noon. How's this? That's gonna be really nice.
We got the intro song now, Rock and Roll Train.
There we go.
It's Matt Menard hooked it up. It's going to be good.
You're up.
My vote is the Andrew DeCecco Variety Hour, but clearly I am overruled here on this.
It could happen. Hey, would Andrew DeCecco? And I'm telling you now, think of all the draft picks you've got, the potential pitfalls in the salary cap you have moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
The Jacksonville Jaguars, and I did confirm yesterday, a buddy of mine does sports talk radio in Jacksonville, that Trayvon Walker is absolutely being shopped, and he's available. You could pick up his fifth-year option, have a 2-year test drive, or you could get him, and I think you'd probably have to extend him.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
if you're Howie, what do you do? If that's an option, nobody's got better draft capital to be able to maneuver with.
I think you have to entertain it if you're Howie, because what player, let's say hypothetically the pick number 32, are you going to find that's going to give you that kind of production? Now, this is a player that has 20 and a half sacks combined over the last 2 years. He's an ascending player, and I really do believe that the best from him is yet to come. Now, that would also allow the Eagles to go into the draft without feeling like they have to be pressured to draft an edge rusher. You're getting a proven commodity, and that would really, I mean, if you think about that, Trayvon Walker, Nolan Smith, Jalix Hunt, Josh Uche, and Azeez Ojulari, you're good there. And I think that I'm always a big proponent of getting the known versus the unknown. Now, you would have the player for 2 years, most likely. So I think because of those reasons, I would do it.
Now the thing is, okay, I want to do it because I want to test Connor and Brendan on this too with you, because you're Howie right now. We want your 1. We want a 3 next year, and we want a 5
for a 24-year-old player who's ascending. I think you have to do it.
Okay, we want a 1, we want a 3, and we want 2 of your 5s this year.
I think it's a little rich.
You think that's a little rich?
I think
you
it's a
cut it
little
out
rich.
at that?
I would
fifth round draft picks. I'm like, okay,
I'm already thinking no on the first option.
1, 3, 5.
Why is that? Why is that though?
Well, maybe this is the Howie Roseman bias. Maybe I'm living in fantasy land, but Howie allows us to live as Eagles fans in fantasy land. I just think about the capital he's given up for a player like A.J. Brown or a player like Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. I understand contract situations different for those players, positions different for those players. What I would have given up for them is always more than what Howie Roseman does. So if I hear an offer that I'm like, that sounds like it works for me, it may be unfair, but then my expectation is Howie Roseman is going to get him for cheap. So if that's my bar.
With so many teams potentially available, though,
that's what I mean.
I don't think you're going to be able to shake anybody down. I don't think you're going to be able to get
It's a pass rusher.
What do you say?
Would Connor be upset if that happened? Yeah, you want it to be cheaper, but would you be upset with that first, third, and a fifth?
You know what it would feel like to me? It feels like 1 foot in 2 camps. Or 1 foot in either camp. When you look at how they've gone about this offseason, not giving paydays to depth pieces that they could have kept with where their salary cap situation is right now, but instead you're setting up for the future. Like, if you're going to make that trade for Trayvon Walker and give up that capital, they're going to extend it. Look at what they did when they traded for A.J. Brown. Immediate extension, right? Like, they immediately were like, hey, we're going to get this guy
Make sure
control.
He feels like he's part of the family right up there.
Yeah.
They didn't do it with Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. He was gone very quickly to Detroit. Then he came back, and then they traded him. So if the Eagles are truly in enough to give up a first-round pick on a player that's 24 years old, they're going to pay him that money. And if they're paying him that money, isn't that completely against what they've set out to do this offseason to the nth degree by not bringing back even affordable players to clear cap space?
Yeah, but what Howie Roseman has proven, Connor, is that he's willing to pay for special players, especially premium positions. That's a pass rusher, just like corner, just like offensive line. I think that he would make an exception there.
Tell me how special Trayvon
You're Howie
Walker
Roseman.
is.
Why are you saying it? You're Howie.
That's true. Well,
for this exercise.
Back-to-back double-digit sack seasons.
Tell Connor to go to his office.
Like, what tier is this guy in? If Myles Garrett and Max Crosby are on, like, tier 1, and T.J. Watt, tier 1 of NFL edge rushers right now, is he 1B? Is he 2? Is he lower down on that list?
Tier 2 for me.
He's on the cusp. He's tier 2. But in this system, with that defense and players like Jalen Carter around him, we're talking about a player who could have 13 sacks or 14 sacks. And it would spread the wealth around the whole defense. I think that would make the defense exponentially better. So for those reasons, I think you have to pony up and bring a player. You have to make an exception for talent like that.
Does he spring also Nolan Smith's numbers to explode?
Absolutely.
Does he spring? You know what I mean? Does he potentially spring Jordan Davis to become more of a pass rusher?
Well, that I'm not so sure.
Okay.
But I think that Jordan Davis has shown glimpses late in the season last year that he can do that. And I just think when you have so many different edge rushers like that can all bring something different to the table, John, I think that's awfully enticing. We
have any text, Brendan, that want to get in and talk to DeCekadamas? Is that it?
Yeah, we got Dave in South Jersey checking in saying Darius Slay mentioned a couple weeks ago that maybe one of the leaders coming up in the secondary wouldn't be on the roster right now. The discussion of today is the young leaders. Is there a possibility that one of the leaders is not on the team yet?
Perhaps. I mean, I think that they do have leaders already on the team that I think are going to step up and fill that role, and Reed and Nakobe and Zach Bond. And I do believe that I've seen signs from Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis. They have a lot of leaders. I know that some folks might be thrown off because they're young, but they played a lot of football. They played in high-leverage moments, and they know what it takes to win, and they know what a good culture is supposed to look like. So I think they have enough already there. It's a really strong infrastructure.
Yeah, and here's the thing with leadership, too. You are leading compared to your peers. So if the entire defense is young and you have a young leader, by relativity, they're not as young as they seem just looking at them individually. If you're 26 and the rest of the defense is 24, that gives you a better opportunity to lead than if you were talking to a bunch of 30-year-olds or 32-year-olds who are better to lead forever.
We'll have plenty more with Andrew DeCecco if you stick around with us. It's going to be a busy hour, but also coming up, I'm going to ask Andrew, can you retire a number from someone who's not a Hall of Famer? Plus, we'll check in Clearwater. Andrew Salciunas is down there with us. We'll see if he's got any answers on that lineup. It's Kincade Salciunas here on The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
A busy offseason continues. I'm Brendan Gunn with your Fanatic Sports Update. It's been a busy offseason so far for the Eagles with departures of key free agents like Josh Sweat, Milton Williams, and Fred Johnson yesterday, who went to the Jags. They also traded away C.J. Gardner-Johnson. They signed players like Azeez Ojulari, and they extended players like Saquon Barkley and Lane Johnson. But Barrett Brooks from NBC Sports Philadelphia joined the best show ever yesterday and said there's one position he still thinks should be addressed by the Birds.
I really think it's that safety position. We need a guy right now come in and be that a veteran type of guy, can do both. You know, not just be that box safety, the strong safety, but also be that free safety to roam around.
We'll see if they hit the secondary free agent market or the draft for that safety that Barrett Brooks wants, but as soon as they do something, we'll keep you updated right here. The Sixers, they lost again last night, this time to the OKC Thunder, 133-100. Quentin Grimes once again led the way for the Sixers with 28 points. They're back in action tomorrow against the San Antonio Spurs on the road. The Flyers, they hit the ice again tonight against the Washington Capitals. That game can be heard right here tonight on the Fanatic starting at 7. And we are 1 week away from opening day. The Phils open their season next Thursday in Washington against the Nationals. And the NCAA tournament begins today at noon, 12:15 to be exact. Let the March Madness begin. This update was brought to you by Bet365. Bet365, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Download the app today. I'm Brendan Gunn on the home of the 76ers and the Flyers, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Ricky Vitalico.
Why can't you be that team that gets that strong? Kincade and Salciunas here on The Fanatic. Connor in for Andrew. We'll talk to Andrew down in Clearwater in just a few moments. And Andrew DeCecco with us, the sixth man, as he joins us here on the show. I have someone who reached out via DMs. Anthony asks, John, love listening every day. Whatever happened to Jalen's knee? We never heard about what went on in there. Did he have a procedure, an MCL, a meniscus? Like, are we hearing anything? Remember, Jalen's knee was talk.
Yeah,
And now it's not talk? Because remember, last year we had that too. He was.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything on that at all.
Are they allowed to keep something like that secret? If he had a cleanup, don't they have to make that public?
I think it would eventually have been public, but sometimes it could be as simple as just taking time off of it because he looks like the player that he was in 2022.
Yeah, I'd imagine it was just either like some type of tendonitis that was minor or swelling, or if it was a bone bruise, there's not really surgery you can get for that.
No, and the more you have to play every week, you're going to continually aggravate it. So when the offseason happens, you're able to kind of recover it and let it marinate a little
rest,
bit.
recover.
Yeah, you're on a beach in Cancun, put the leg up. Feels good after a couple pina coladas. I mean, listen, I understand why people are questioning why we haven't heard news on it, but this is one of those situations where no news is good news.
Can the Eagles retire number 55 for Brandon Graham?
Yes, I absolutely think so. He epitomizes Philadelphia in the sense that he started out this, high expectations, a first-round pick, 3 sacks just his first 2 seasons. A lot of people thought he was a bust, that he wasn't going to make it. Instead of complaining, instead of campaigning that he wanted to get out of here, asking for a trade, stomping his feet, pouting, he saw it through. He worked through it. And I think that there's everyone out there who can relate to a story like that. Not only is he a good player and a luminary for the franchise, 76.5 sacks, third in Eagles history, but he's a great person. He did a lot for the community. And I just think when you look at you take all those things into consideration, he epitomizes everything that the Eagles stand for and everything this city stands for. So, yes, for those reasons, 55 should be retired.
Here's why I asked Connor yesterday on post-show headlines, which you can find on our YouTube channel. He was 54 for the first 3 years.
That's right.
So he didn't even wear it the whole time. It's just a weird dynamic to me is whether you retire it. Because he was 54 when he switched his 4th year to 55.
Would it be weird to you to see somebody else wear 55? I like to kind of pose that question.
It's not a bad redirect there.
Yeah, and he wasn't good when he wore 54. 55 is part of the great Brandon Graham that we know. Like, listen, he had the turnaround wearing 5'5".
Like let's say the preseason. If you see somebody out there in 55, you're going to be a little weirded out.
Sure, yeah, that's always
it's not going to feel right.
Same way 65 will always be Lane Johnson.
Yes. Oh, yes, it will be. But he's going to be a Hall of Famer. I don't think Brandon Graham's going to be a Hall of Famer.
No.
Hey, Arnold's Fun Center is our Fanatics deal of the week. Check out it. You can get 2 $50 point cards for the price of 1. To Arnold's Family Fun Center in Oaks, Pennsylvania, you got go-karts, you got mini golf, you got bowling, and more action-packed excitement for all ages when you visit Arnold's. Get this exclusive offer while supplies last at 975thefanatic.com/deals. Connor would be like dropping a 7-year-old off at Arnold's.
7-year-old can't drive like this, dog.
With an unlimited card. He would have a blast at Arnold's.
Pedal down, Rubbin's racing. I'm going to get kicked off the go-karts so damn fast.
You get kicked out of there in like 7 minutes.
I've been kicked off go-karts many times in my life.
Let's go to the Comcast Business Hotline. Every day in business is a big day. His name's on the show. His Andrew Salciunas. And he joins us. And we've got Andrew DeCecco in with us as we check in with you in Clearwater, Andrew. And we were naming his Saturday morning show, the new Saturday morning show, 9 to noon. We named it this morning. I want to test the name with you.
Football Guy Radio.
How about Early Birds with Andrew DeCecco?
That.
What do you think, Andrew?
I like that. I like Early Bird. I mean, a Football Guy twist in there somewhere. Maybe the returns could be like, and now, Football Guy, Andrew DeCecco, Early Bird.
Look, we need your stamp of approval, man. We can't go forward without your input.
There we go.
No, I like Early Birds. I think that goes well. All Eagles all the time.
We're going to get to talk to Cooper too. I think it sounds like you guys are having a good time.
Yeah.
How are you enjoying it, and how are you feeling?
I feel fine today. Today's a lot better. Yesterday was okay, but we're having a blast, man. I mean, the pool scene's great, the beach scene's great, and Coop's having a good time. He didn't really vibe with the nice dinner. We found out.
I warned you.
Car too. Yeah, going out for the nice dinner with the little kid on vacation, we quickly learned is not the best idea. So we got that one out of the way, and we'll do nothing but bar food the rest of the trip.
No barracuda, huh?
No barracuda. I had a mahi with crab meat on top.
Oh,
nice.
Dude,
that sounds awesome.
So good, man.
Now, Andy, speaking of young guys having to step up, like Cooper is on your vacation, the Eagles have some young guys on their defense that are going to have to step up. And we've been talking with DeCecco. We've been talking this morning on the show about who can step into a leadership role. Do you worry about the youth of this defense is one of the conversations right now?
No, I don't. I mean, especially because you have guys that have been together for so long. Those Georgia Bulldogs, I know they're only going into year 4, some of them, year 3, some of them, but they've been together. And what is leadership? It's holding people accountable, right? So Jalen Carter can hold Nakobe Dean accountable, and Nakobe Dean can hold Nolan Smith accountable. They can hold Keely Ringo accountable, right? Like, you have so many SEC guys and Georgia Bulldogs, so they all kind of get it, especially with the level of play they played in college and already in their early careers in the NFL. So I don't think you need somebody necessarily with a certain age mark be considered a leader, right? Saquon Barkley was considered a leader. He didn't turn 30, right? So I don't think you have to be this 32, 33-year-old vet in the league that has experienced the highs and lows of the NFL. These guys have experienced at the highest levels both in college and in the NFL, and I'm sure they probably experienced at the highest levels in high school too. So that doesn't concern me. I mean, you're going to have your leadership council. Darius Slay made that very clear that Reed Blankenship would be a part of that role, and it was not going to be Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, who's no longer on the team. But you got your guys that have been together for a while, so I'm not worried about it at all.
Are you worried about the Phillies at all? Ranger Suarez, did you put him through your back routine to try to get him?
I will be worried every 5th day when Taijuan Walker's pitching. It was fireworks day yesterday at Baycare Ballpark. They usually do that at night, but when Taijuan Walker was pitching, how about that for a zinger?
Yeah.
That was horrible, and it's just uncompetitive pitches. Like they're horrible. And the fact that he's still on the roster because of his contract is one of the worst things that we've been dealing with. And I don't know what Dave Dombrowski, John Middleton, I know it's his money, but they realize that they're putting themselves in a losing situation every 5th day when he goes out there, and he's going to be the guy, by all reports yesterday, to replace Ranger Suarez until Suarez is back. And Ranger Suarez has been having his own health issues over the years. You've been dealing with that. He's an excellent pitcher when everything's on, but there's a reason why they never signed him to that extension, right? And you probably got a glimpse of that yesterday when you saw the injury. So now we're just going to have to, in the beginning of the season, deal with Taijuan Walker. And for the people that are calling for Andrew Painter to come up, their plan is until midsummer. So they're not just going to all of a sudden rush Andrew Painter back from his injury to have the 5th day filled. You're going to have to deal with Taijuan Walker, and it's going to be an L, and he's going to give up 6 earned runs in 6 innings because the only thing he's good for, and I will give him credit, he puts his pride aside, is he pitches innings. It's not Uncle Jack, buddy. It's Mr. John.
It's 97.5 The Fanatic, Coop. Now, you got a chance to talk to Charlie yesterday and get his thoughts. We had some homework assignments for you, so what did he have on our questions about the lineup and the comfortability of players?
I will say this. He didn't totally give an answer, but you know how we have to speak Shefty every Wednesday? I spoke Charlie yesterday, and he dropped the I'm still a part of the organization, so I don't want to speak ill will.
So in other words, he agrees with me, but he won't say it because he's a Philly. Because he does. All you have to do is watch his career, and you know he'd agree with me.
Right, and one of the things he talked about, a lot of the questions were about 08 and that run, and he talked about the well-balanced lineup, which, by the way, it was. Right, like you had your on-base and speed guy and a guy that could hit with Jimmy Rollins as the leadoff spot, and then you had a contact guy at 2, you had power at 3, 4, 5, 6, you had good hitters. Like that lineup was actually very balanced, which this lineup isn't. It just isn't. I mean, it's boom or bust a lot of it. Like Alec Bohm is in this lineup probably because he is one of your better contact hitters. It's just a shame that he's your third baseman, so he's hitting 15 home runs. But I think Charlie, without saying it, I would guess agrees more with you, John. But Larry and Jason Worth the other day didn't, so maybe I'll try to get some more information.
Because they're on the payroll still, too. They're not going to say
Larry
it.
is.
Yeah, they're not going to say it.
No. Larry made it pretty clear.
Yeah.
He's the assistant to the general manager, and he made it pretty clear he's okay with what they do.
Yeah, because he can't speak out against it. I mean, he'd be out. We got to run, but you what do you got planned today?
We are currently driving to North Fort Myers. My aunt and uncle / godparents, they're in their mid-80s, so we're making the trip over to see them. And we'll hang out with them for a few hours, make the drive back, and then hit up the pool for the rest of the day.
Have a great time, buddy. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
All right, guys.
Talk to you, Andrew. Yep.
Andrew Salciunas live from Clearwater. Andrew DeCecco in studio with us, and you're going to have questions for him. Remember, you can text in 610-632-0975. So we're going to ask Andrew, have the Eagles' latest moves changed his thoughts on the draft strategy that they're going to take? If so, he has a few targets sitting in the holster. We'll get to that. Kincade Salciunas on The Fanatic.
97.5 The Fanatic's Knockout Tournament is your chance to shoot.
preemption for 2 days, too, of the Young and the Restless.
Oh, darn. How will
So
we
it is-
survive?
Genoa City is preempted for 2 days.
Darn.
So just you will miss that.
Man, more college basketball.
More college
Man.
basketball, I promise you, but they'll work this thing out. A question for Andrew DeCecco on the text line at 610-632-0975.
Yeah, we got Stephen Ben Salem checking in saying Rick Lovato was cut this week. What do you make of that, Andrew DeCecco? And is it a scapegoat situation for Jake Elliott's season?
What up, man? So he wasn't cut. He just wasn't re-signed. He was one of their free agents, and Rick had some shoddy snaps last season. And I think, given his age, the Eagles wanted to explore another option. Now they get a 34-year-old and
Got an older guy,
and
though.
Charlie Hewlett. No,
Isn't he 2 years older? I thought he's 2 years older.
no, I think Lovato's older
Let
than
me
that.
do some research while you
But-
continue to make your point.
But I think that they are bringing in someone. They just want fresh blood. You always have to worry about the operation because they had that cohesion there between Braden Mann and Jake Elliott and Rick Lovato. But
They're same age, by the way.
Lovato's 32, actually.
Yeah,
So,
Lovato's
2 years
32.
younger.
that's,
you
yeah, that's shocking.
So I'm telling you, it's
But if you go back and you could think back to some of those field goals, Lovato wasn't on his game like he was in prior years. So I think they made a little alteration there and they want to bring in some experience. That's interesting to me, but I still would not be surprised if they bring in a young long snapper to challenge Charlie Hewlett. I know we're getting inside baseball here a little bit, but I was at Rutgers Pro Day and I spoke to Austin Riggs, who was invited to the NFL Combine. He's a long snapper, and he is invited to the Eagles' local Pro Day in April. So that's something to keep an eye on as well.
Baltimore did it too. Their kicker, bad year, super dependable, long snapper gone. Just saying.
Well,
they are,
Seems
yeah.
like there's a little bit of goating going on.
It may not. Well, it may actually be the long snapper. Like, how much do you watch the actual snap? We watch the kick. We watch Jake Elliott.
Sure.
We don't ever come away from a kick and say, unless the ball is over Braden Mann's head, we
Which
don't come
doesn't
away.
happen, yeah.
Yeah, we don't come away from a kick and say, "Damn, Rick Lovato missed that field goal." So, you're right. It's inside baseball. Now, I'll just ask you this to take it very outside baseball, football in this instance. Like, if you had 100 snaps on a field goal in the NFL last year, what percentage of those would you say were bad enough snaps to say, "Oh, it makes a major difference in the kick"? Like, it's minimal, right?
Yeah, it's super minimal. Maybe, I don't know, 8-10%. Like,
Okay.
it wasn't noticeable. It wasn't anything that, anyone's running to Twitter and we're reporting, oh, that was an off snap from Rick Lovato. It wasn't anything that we're writing about
Or does
when
a
we're looking
kick-
at the special teams.
Or does a kicker under pressure being critiqued heavily about their performance say, well, the snaps aren't great?
No, I don't think Jake would do that. They were a very close knit group. I think they're shaking it up. Braden Mann, we don't talk about him a lot, but I thought he did. When you look back at that postseason run, that snow game where he had to handle it with bare hands and clear out, use his forearm to clear out space for Jake. I mean, he's really steady in that role.
That's why we're man's men here on this program. Love the guy.
Men. Okay, has the Eagles draft strategy changed now that they've made these moves?
I think so.
Tell us why, and tell us who you already are probably focusing on.
Yeah, so I think the Eagles have done a really good job of draft-proofing the roster so that you can kind of go into it willing to take any player, the best player available. I think that's always the best approach. That's the Eagles, that's their approach. But right now, at pick 32, you can get an edge rusher like Donovan Ezaraku from Boston College. 6'2", 250, really long arms, moves well. Looks like he would fit the bill for what the Eagles traditionally look for in that position. Josh Connerly, he's an offensive tackle. The Eagles might want to start looking at getting a tackle in place there to replace Lane Johnson down the line. But they also lost Fred Johnson, and Fred Johnson was the swing tackle. I know a lot of folks probably don't look at losing Fred Johnson as something that's going to be vital, but it is because that he served a really crucial role in game day. So I think that you can look at offensive tackle, a cornerback like Maxwell Hairston from Kentucky, Amy Fadul's alma mater. I think that's a player. He ran a 4.2, 5'11", 185, good ball skills, really good eye discipline. I think that he would really mesh well with that young nucleus on the back end. Then we have Malachi Starks from Georgia. I know a lot of folks are going to say he's not going to be there at 32. Never deal in absolutes when you're talking about the NFL draft. There's a lot of things that happen. No one expected Quinyon Mitchell to be available when the Eagles were on the board. Crazier things have happened. That's a player that you look at the pedigree, you look at the position, the IQ, and he has C.J. Gardner-Johnson ball skills. Would be a really good fit on the back end.
Love that. And also, Quinyon Mitchell wasn't even the weirdest one. Cooper DeJean being there at 40 was insane. So
And that you were able to trade up to get him.
Yeah. Now, when you talk about the swing tackle, very important position that doesn't get enough thought from the fan base when it comes to the depth needed on NFL rosters. If you draft a player and try and make them into a swing tackle depth piece, is that too much for a young player to take on?
I don't think so, especially if they're not going to be asked to start. They're learning both sides. In some cases, a lot of these tackles in the draft, they are largely left tackle, but they played some right tackle as well, so it's not a drastic departure from what they've already done. One thing I'm seeing out there that's a sentiment is that some folks believe that Tyler Steen will be the swing tackle. Okay, Tyler Steen has been exclusively a guard for the Eagles the last 2 seasons. Yes, he was a tackle in college, but he's never done it at the pro level. So I'm of the belief that Tyler Steen is the front runner to win that right guard spot. So that would leave you with a void there as well. I do think they need to add a young tackle in this draft.
And real quick on that, sorry, Johnny, do we know a general idea of what Fred Johnson got paid? We haven't been able to find that information.
It's not out. It wasn't out as of this morning, but my understanding is that he's going to have the opportunity to start or challenge for a starting role.
Gotcha.
And would you have seen Fred walking away for that opportunity? Because to me, if you get a chance to go to the Jaguars and you get a chance to start, he's thinking of next year's payday.
Of course. And that's a player who he loved being an Eagle. He loved being it. He loved it. But the opportunity was there. And I think that Fred Johnson could start for a lot of teams out there.
We taught everybody at the resort, go Birds. Because people kept saying, go Eagles to him. I told every bartender, it's go Birds. When you see the big man, it's go Birds. By the time second day,
I'm sure Fred loved that.
He was totally into it. He was very, very into it.
Great guy. Great guy.
The people.
Positive attitude always and hilarious. He was a hilarious guy in the locker room.
Okay, the question is, with all those draft picks, and Andrew Pacheco knows these draft boards, is he thinking there's going to be used to move up, move down, create more? You couldn't need more picks, could you? We'll get to all kinds of questions and yours at 610-632-0975. If you want to text him in, it's Kincade and Salciunas on The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
A potential need for the Birds. I'm Brendan Gunn with your Fanatic Sports Update. It's been a busy offseason so far for the Eagles with departures of key free agents and Josh Sweat, Milton Williams. They traded away C.J. Gardner-Johnson. They signed some players like Azeez Ojulari, and they even extended some players already under contract, Saquon Barkley and Lane Johnson. But Barrett Brooks from NBC Sports Philadelphia joined the best show ever yesterday and said there's one position he still thinks the Eagles need to address this offseason.
I really think it's that safety position. We need a guy right now come in and be that a veteran type of guy, can do both. You know, not just be that box safety, the strong safety, but also be that free safety to roam around.
Maybe they get that in the secondary free agent market. Maybe they get that in the draft, but we'll keep you updated if they do go in that direction. The Sixers lost another one last night, this time to the Oklahoma City Thunder by a score of 133-100. Quentin Grimes once again led the way for the Sixers with 128 points. Not beating Will Chamberlain's record, just 28 points. The Sixers are back in action tomorrow against the San Antonio Spurs. The Flyers, they hit the ice again tonight against the Washington Capitals. That game can be heard right here on the Fanatic starting at 7. And we are now just 1 week away from opening day for the Phils. They open their season next Thursday in Washington as well against the Nationals. And guess what? The NCAA tournament begins today at 12:15 with Louisville and Creighton. Let the March Madness begin. This update was brought to you by Indeed.com. Stop struggling to get your job seen on other job sites. Indeed sponsored jobs feature helps you stand out and hire fast. Start at Indeed.com/credit. I'm Brendan Gunn on the home of the 76ers and the Flyers, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Bill Colarulo.
Even if it is a step back year, you are still talking about a contender in the NFC. Last season, what we watched, what all of us questioned towards the end, is this the best Eagles team?
DeCecco in with us. Connor Thomas in for Andrew Salciunas, wearing his Thomas
That thing's sharp,
Union
man.
kit.
There's Thomas all over this thing. Yeah.
Thomas with an apostrophe, and then Thomas on the back.
Yeah, I play for the name on the front and the back of this jersey. But shout out the Union for sending us some gear. Appreciate them very much.
I
Yeah,
did
that thing's sharp.
did that once with the team that I had to break them a little bit. They were a little too freelancy. I said, let's cover up those names, please, for tonight's game. Let's
Look at
take those
John.
names off the back.
Yeah, but then you don't know who you're passing to.
Yeah, they do. They know
Who's that
exactly
guy
who they
over
are.
there?
Let's take the names off the back.
CT18,
Let's
man.
see what you can do. CT18. We have anybody on the text line wanting to check in with Andrew Salciunas, Andrew DeCecco, after I tell you that you're listening to WPN and WPN HD1 Burlington, Philadelphia, Beasley Media Group station that broadcasts live from the Comcast Business Studio, which powers possibilities.
Yeah, we got no name on this one, but it says the Eagles were so good last year, nobody could even compete with them. This year, it seems like the Rams and the Commanders are getting better while the Eagles have gotten worse. In free agency in the offseason, losing CJ, GJ, Slay, Gainwell, Becton, Kellen Moore on top of all that. Do you fear the Eagles are going down to their level and the other teams are going up in level a little bit?
It's way too early to make that determination. You know, anybody who wins the offseason, I think that history will show you that it doesn't necessarily correlate with regular season or postseason success next season. I think the Eagles are far from done. This is not a finished product. The games don't count until September. So be mindful of that. They're still gonna make some tinkering. There'll be some alterations to the roster, and Howie Roseman has knocked it out of the park the last few drafts, so I can't wait to see what the Eagles do there as well. The Eagles are still the head of the class. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, this is a Flyers and Sixers and Phillies problem more than it is an Eagles problem. Normally, we're used to having like one of the two winter sports be more competitive than they are right now to kind of give us something to like take our mind off of what's going on with the NFL. Right now, I feel like everyone's so laser focused.
They're fixated on it.
And rightfully so. You got the Super Bowl champions in this city, but you got to give it a little bit more time than March 20th. Yeah, is that fair?
That's fair.
Yeah, of course. The draft's still over a month away. You never want to jump to conclusions. Yeah.
5 weeks.
Wow.
Why, you think it's long?
No, that feels shorter. Than
Yeah,
what I
because
think.
because we had a parade on Valentine's Day.
That's true.
We do also have breaking news, though.
Uh-oh.
Now, breaking sports news from 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
I have a feeling that Connor may want a moment of silence.
I think John's going to like this one a little bit. According to Matt Gelb and Todd Zalecki, Garrett Stubbs has been optioned to AAA.
Good.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. That was 100% a thing for months now.
DJ AAA is now in AAA.
Marchand, there you go. Step on up.
It had to be. Garrett Stubbs had a minor league option. Rafael Marchand did not. If they were not going to put
Right.
Marchand on the opening day roster, he would have gone to waivers. He
And
would have
Marchand would have been
picked up by
picked up
They
in
would
2
have
seconds.
lost Marchand.
Yeah, and then you have Garrett Stubbs with nobody behind him. Here's the thing that's nice about this, right? If Marchand works out, great. If not, well, you have a guy in AAA now that you can call up that's very familiar with this rotation. You may see Garrett Stubbs at some point this year, but this isn't so much. It is a little bit to the detriment of Garrett Stubbs' ability to hit at the major league level. That's why he's down there. But this is more so a logistics decision that had to be made. That if you've been watching things for months, this was how they were 100% going to go.
I got to tell you, I think Marchand could do anything he could do at the plate if given the
Oh,
opportunity.
way
definitely
more
can.
at the plate.
So that's what I mean. So I'm like, it's like they had to make this move. Now
He just has to
now
stay healthy,
The vibes are
Marchand.
going to be
Yes.
different.
Yeah, well, yeah, I was going to say, who's going to...
Vibes. I guarantee if the Phillies are like 7-12, someone's going to say, "Well, we don't have Garrett Stubbs."
I don't think
Making
anyone's saying
playlists.
The
Yeah.
vibes. I've heard enough of crap about the vibes to last me a lifetime. You know what wins? You know what this is? The Dodgers.
Good players,
The
yeah.
Dodgers clubhouse is considered robotic by the Dodgers media. They're like robotic. They go each in their separate ways. You know what they are? They're freaking great because they're baseball players. You don't need to have it doesn't have to be a clown show.
Yeah, well,
to just make teams
First
have
off,
a good time.
They're not a clown show.
No,
Garrett
but it
Stubbs
doesn't have to
make
be.
it a clown show. And the vibes thing, the idea of having a tight locker room has been important to the way the Philadelphia Phillies have tackled regular seasons. I'm not saying they can't do that without Garrett Stubbs, but I guarantee you there are guys in the locker room that are sad to see him not be with
Well,
the
of
team.
course, because he's a good dude.
Right, exactly.
But it's
So-
about winning baseball games. It's about being the best team you can be.
Yeah, but he's
Yes.
not the glue. Let's not act like he's the glue
and
holding
then
the
people
team
do
together.
though.
No.
People
Does he-
do though.
Does he come up for September call-ups to get the vibes ready for October?
I think he'll be up before September.
He'll be
call-ups.
around. You
Well,
think?
of course, because
Or you
Marchand.
think Marchand's going to get hurt?
I don't think his track record would
Yeah.
show you that
Or JT.
injury-wise. or JT.
That's what I wonder about.
With
I
the
say
knees,
to you
yeah.
right now, Connor is the host of the Locked On Phillies podcast, which you should subscribe to. I do. I don't listen every day, but I do enjoy it. What would be the number of starts at catcher? What's the breakdown now that we've got a legitimate backup catcher?
I think the number that you're looking to hit is 40 for Rafael Marchand.
That's fair. That's good.
Do you see him being attached to one of the starters as the catcher?
That's a tough question to answer.
Where he would get an every fifth day for JT is guaranteed to be off.
I don't see that because I think JT is much more valuable than him, so I think you're going to get it more. Now, Garrett Stubbs was attached to guys in the past on different years where he would always get certain starts. And I don't know that Marchand has the rapport with the rotation yet to get to that point. We could see it develop throughout the year, but going into the season, I think it's much more JT needs a day here regardless of who's pitching.
Well, if you went 40, I'm just thinking of this. Like 26 Sundays are usually not all day games, but the majority of them are day games after a Saturday night game.
Yeah.
So that would be one where you just sort of be penciling in. Let's say 20 of his starts come there.
Yeah, I could also see this as a situation, depending on how Marchand handles things, because defensively, Garrett Stubbs is underrated as a defender.
I agree with you there, yes.
And if JT, who's a guy who's already tough to sit down for a game, looks at that and says, man, this guy needs a little bit more time to figure out the rotation, I don't feel as comfortable sitting and letting him handle a start for a certain pitcher. I could see JT wanting to be out there more defensively with Marchand behind him, but that's on Thompson and the organization to say, hey, you need to take a day. We've got to trust the kid. We got to give him a chance.
Matt in Havertown checks in and says, do the Iron Pigs have a pool for him to jump in? I'll still never forget. I'll never get over that you watched a stupid moron from the Braves literally taunt the Phillies and talk and give that locker room buzz, and then up 2-0 on the Diamondbacks. Who had to run their mouth? DJ AAA. He had to be the one to run his mouth. Oh, we're jumping in that pool out there. When we win, we're jumping in that pool, baby.
DJ AAA.
Yeah, it was a bad decision by Garrett Stubbs there. And
when the last guy on the roster is the one being all chesty.
Yeah, you can't do that when you're on the fringes.
No, but this move was 100% going to happen. It has been in the cards for months. It is no surprise. Some Phillies fans may look at that like, wow, they actually made the move. It's more logistic than it is against Garrett Stubbs' ability, but both things are contributors.
Okay, anybody else on the text line for one Andrew DeCecco?
Yeah, we got Chris in Maryland checking in saying the safety position has been one of possibly need for this offseason. What do you think about Kevin Winston Jr., a safety from Penn State, with a day 2 pick?
Yeah, Kevin Winston's a player I really like. If he hadn't gotten hurt, his name would be talked about a lot more. I would argue that safety is probably their leanest position right now because there's so many questions. Connor, we had a discussion about Reed Blankenship. Sidney Brown's a great unknown. Flies around, that's great, but he has to be able to be assignment sound and fit into Vic Fangio's defense. There's a lot of questions there at safety. Look, I like Starks. I like Evan Awori. Makuba from Texas is a player that I tweeted about over the weekend. I think he may even fit the bill better than the other two. He could be available probably in the late 2, third-round conversation, but they definitely need to add a young safety within the first 3 rounds.
You find safety thinner than linebacker?
Yes, I do.
Especially with N'Kobe's history. And Warren Burke's walking out the door. I'm concerned about it.
Trotter Jr. is a player that the Eagles are really high on. Everything that I've gotten behind the scenes, everything that I've gotten last season suggests that behind the scenes he was doing everything well. He has a very high football IQ and somebody that the coaches trust, but maybe not to the degree of putting him in a postseason situation. Warren Burks did just fine, but I think Trotter's ready to take that next step. N'Kobe Dean, we'll have to wait and see what the future holds for him in terms of his recovery timeline. But, yeah, I think they're going to be okay there. I would expect them to draft one as well.
Where's the line you draw? This is a question that always bounces around my mind for the draft. The line drawn for where you can get a contributor in year 1, whether that's a rotational piece, a starter. Is it the 3rd round? Is it the 4th round?
4th.
Okay, so anything past the 4th you're looking at, this is depth. Anything 4th or better is a guy that could step in and contribute.
Or be a depth player like Will Shipley was behind Saquon Barkley and Kenny Gainwell, for example. But they've had 4th-round picks that have produced. There have been offensive line depth in the past. I think that's really the line. Anything beyond that, not that you're throwing darts, but they're not always going to pan out.
So with those 5th-round picks, and you've got 4 of them,
yeah,
would you look at them more as chess pieces to see what's out there, as this is a deep draft, to flip those off for future years? Or what do you get for a fifth-round pick? Movement on a board?
Yes. Movement on a board, and if they don't see a player that they like, I could see, and Howie Roseman has been prone to do this in the past, flip it for future years, maybe where they're a little bit deeper in certain areas. But I think that defensive tackle is a position that they have to address early. Again, you can't fill all those positions in beyond the fourth round. That's where it gets a little risky.
Betting on the draft. Dave Zangaro of NBC Sports Philadelphia was on with the best show ever, I believe, last week, and he said going into the draft with needs is not the safest strategy. I don't know that the Eagles are going in with needs, but Howie Roseman is clearly putting a lot of stock into draft picks, whether to trade them or make them. Do you worry about the Eagles going into the draft with all these opportunities rather than signing veteran players?
No, not at all, because I really like Howie Roseman's last few drafts. He's really nailed it, knocked it out of the park, and the Eagles have done a really good job developing players as well. They have a much more sound infrastructure in place. I think they're going to be okay.
You know what? I really like your last few drafts, Andrew DeCecco. You've been on point, so you're going to be a great resource for us when
thanks.
that time comes
5
around.
weeks. Hope you enjoyed your little time off.
And we got Saturday.
And you're on
early
today
bird.
and tomorrow.
That's right, 2 to 6, me and Tyrone.
Best show ever. Don't miss it
it's gonna
this
be fun.
afternoon. Good job, buddy. Thanks,
you.
man. Hey, lots of moves for the Birds. We're going to revisit some of your thoughts. How young is too young? Plus, the Phillies opener's a week away. Kincade Salciunas on the Fanatic.
We want to hear from you. So text us at 610-632-0975.
You text every day, so why not text us?
Your opinion matters. Shoot us a text at 610-632.
final hour of Kincade Salciunas is presented to you by The Bagster. It's a dumpster in a bag. You can get yours today at Home Depot and Lowe's. You need details? Go to Bagster.com. All right, I've been told that, look, the Phillies are making changes. They made a change. This is what you're begging for. The backup catcher is not what I'm talking about. And the Phillies saying, we got to shake things up, got to do some things differently, got to change some things. And again, I go back to, and I thank one of our listeners for sending me some of the clips. It's important that we do not approach this season the same way we have the last few. We've seen the results in the end, and there need to be some changes. Well, that's Dave Dombrowski's told us all along. They're going to do things differently. They're not doing things differently.
Well, hang on. They're doing some things differently for where we're at right now. They haven't played a regular season game yet. They are going to go into the season with a 26-man opening day roster, and 5 of those positions are going to be different than last year. So you're looking at a situation where a fifth of the roster is going to be different. That's not a major overhaul, but there are some changes. The bullpen's going to look a little different. You have a different starter in the rotation, Jesus Luzardo, even though Ranger Suarez's injury opens the door for Taijuan Walker. You're going to have a different backup catcher. You're going to have a different depth player. I think Christian Arroyo is going to end up getting the final position player spot, being a right-handed bat. That'll be new blood over guys like
They
Cody
say they're
Clemens.
shopping, though.
Yeah.
Reportedly, shopping for a right-handed bat somewhere.
They could, and they could bring in a guy that's on a minor league deal with another team to put on the roster, but maybe something changing there. Like, you got to remember, the roster size, it's not an NFL roster. So if you change 5 or 6 guys over an offseason, that's not a negligible change.
I don't think that's what he was talking about, though. And
No.
I'm not going to put words in Dave Dombrowski's mouth, but I do not believe that's what he was talking about.
Not totally.
When he was talking about, we've done things a certain way, we got to change things up, we got to look at how we do things, we have to have a different approach. I don't think that's what he was talking about.
No.
These guys, he's talking about the spare parts. I'm talking about, I believe he was talking about keeping the main thing the main thing.
I agree. But here's the thing. We haven't seen him play a game yet. So
what is spring training for then?
Get stretch it out.
No,
That's literally it. It's get stretched out.
For a month and a half?
For a month?
Yes.
Seriously. Teams put their... I'm telling you, I've been at enough spring trainings. This is not what teams do. They they start getting their regular lineup, and they usually give them like 7-8 games to say, this is the way. Everybody get comfortable. This is the way it's going to be. Unless this team is going to go into the season going, well, one day we're going to lead off Turner. One day we'll lead off Schwarber. And the next day we might decide to go back to Turner. And then we'll go to Schwarber for 2, then back to Turner. It doesn't make sense because that's not how winning teams do it.
No, not necessarily. I mean, you look at a team, and I know this is, 9 years ago now, but in 2016, when the Cubs won it all, they had a different lineup, feels like basically every day, with a guy like Joe Madden. They had pitchers batting 8th, back when pitchers used to hit. They had different leadoff hitters. They had a whole bunch of stuff changing. They won the World Series. So there's no concrete way of what winning teams do. There's different ways to go at it. And if the Phillies were to go out, and this year, let's say in 162 games, 81 Kyle Schwarber bats leadoff, 81 Trey Turner bats leadoff. That is a substantial change from what the Philadelphia Phillies have done.
But why would you be doing that?
Yeah, is there an advantage
What
to
is
doing
the
that,
advantage
right?
in doing that? And more importantly, if you always hear from, I've heard comfort. Bryce Harper, I'm comfortable in the 3 spot. Kyle Schwarber, he's comfortable in the leadoff spot. All this comfort talk, you can't say to me then, oh yeah, well, if he bats leadoff one day and third the one day, he'll have it managed to be comfortable. You can't have it both ways.
Well, you don't want the comfort thing. So maybe they're saying, screw that. We're going to go with, there could be a setup where, just live with this example for a second. You have a pitcher you don't think you're going to be able to string together hits off of. Runs are going to be a premium. Maybe you'd rather have the guy that could go yard on the first pitch, batting leadoff that day, than a Trey Turner who's going to set the table if you don't think hits
Yeah,
are
but
coming.
the issue is once somebody starts to struggle in that leadoff spot, they're just going to go with the other guy. And I guess that
That's
makes
fine.
sense because he's doing better.
What's bad about that?
Because then you get Trey Turner all over the place again because more than likely
he's
it's
already
going to go
shown
to Schwarber.
he has mentally had issues.
I got you.
He has been mentally, I don't want to say mentally soft. I'm saying mentally, it freaks him out.
Exactly. He's struggled a little bit mentally in Philadelphia, and he's been candid about that. Here's the thing. Would you want to have that guy locked into the leadoff spot? What if he goes out in his first month, he struggles? And then what? You're just going to die on the Trey Turner leadoff hill, and it's going to hurt your team? You have to have other options available, and the Phillies seem to be multiple in who they want to bat leadoff this year, And that is a change from last year.
But if they can deal with Taijuan Walker going out there every fifth day and an automatic loss because he's terrible, I think you can deal with sending Trey Turner out there even if he struggles until he gets it right.
They can't. Because Taijuan Walker starting was never a thought for this team. Like, they're forced into that because of the contract. But rest assured, they were planning on going into the season with him barely in the bullpen because of the Matt Strahm injury. Taijuan Walker has lucked his way into being an important part of this team again, and that is against the Phillies' wishes. They're not planning on him making starts. He has to make starts.
So DJ AAA will be spinning the tunes down there. They have nice clubhouses, though, I'm sure. Are we figuring out why the Phillies never attempted to extend Ranger Suarez?
Absolutely. That's exactly what this is.
Is that what it is? Now that he's got back issues again, and I believe that's the third time in 3 years.
Yeah, he's not a durable player. He's a talented pitcher, but he has not been durable in his time with the Philadelphia Phillies, and that's something that would lead to you not wanting to pay him big money. They're also not going to, I don't think, move him this year because when he's available, like if he's available in a postseason series, he showed us last year.
Oh, he's shown us over and over again.
Yeah, but last year, dude had dead arm for like the last 2 months of the season. He couldn't find the strike zone, couldn't find his stuff. He goes out, throws a gem on the road against the New York Mets in a big spot. Yeah,
ice water.
So, like, if you have him still on the team, he is an asset to a championship caliber team. He's just not a guy that you're going to pay long term, and the Phillies showed that when they gave Christopher Sanchez the extension over him.
We're going to roll through the text line, check out what some of you have been sending us at 610-632-0975. And you get asked this all the time, what's for dinner? I think this dinner may be the perfect dinner. We'll get to that. It's Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
A potential need for the Birds. I'm Brendan Gunn with your Fanatic Sports Update. It's been a busy offseason so far for the Eagles with departures of key free agents like Josh Sweat and Milton Williams, trading away C.J. Gardner-Johnson, signing guys like Azeez Ojulari, and even extending current players like Saquon Barkley and Lane Johnson. But Barrett Brooks from NBC Sports Philadelphia joined the best show ever yesterday and said there's one position he still thinks the Eagles need to address this offseason.
I really think it's that safety position. We need a guy right now come in and be a veteran type of guy, can do both. You know, not just be that box safety, the strong safety, but also be that free safety to roam around.
The Sixers lost again last night. This time it was to the OKC Thunder by a score of 133-100. Quentin Grimes led the way again for the Sixers with 28 points. They're back in action tomorrow in San Antonio to take on the Spurs. The Flyers, they hit the ice again tonight in Washington. They're taking on the Capitals. That game can be heard right here on the Fanatic starting at 7 tonight. And we are 1 week away from opening day. The Phils begin their season next Thursday against the Washington Nationals. And the NCAA tournament, that begins today officially at noon, or 12:15 to be exact. Let the March Madness begin. This update was brought to you by Discover. You could skip this ad or you could double your first year cash back with Discover. Still here, Discover matches all cash back you've earned at the end of the year, first year. See terms at discover.com/credit card. I'm Brendan Gunn on the home of the 76ers and the Flyers, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
After 15 years, 206 games, and 2 Super Bowl championships, Eagles.
that begins today. I would imagine people's gambling apps are going to be a little bit busy.
Oh, yeah, mine's already cooking.
My BetParks app, I took the cash out from the Super Bowl winnings, and which I had just left in there. I didn't remember to cash it out. And so I left a portion in there to go with a little college basketball and then baseball season.
Yeah,
you say you're terrible at baseball betting.
I don't even touch baseball. Baseball's impossible. Like,
What's so impossible about baseball to you? I find basketball, I might as well just give you the money.
Yeah.
Because for whatever reason, I do not do well with basketball wagers.
Baseball, you would think because there's so many points of data, it would be easier to figure out what's happening. It's actually the opposite for me, at least, where any team, the Pirates, I think, swept the Dodgers last year. Like, that's the thing. Any given day, we use the any given Sunday for football.
Yeah.
It's really not. If the Eagles are going to play the Titans, the Eagles are winning that game 999 times out of 1,000. If the Pirates play the Dodgers 6 times in a season, they might beat them 4 of them. So it's just like baseball has more weird stuff happen over the course of 162. I find it impossible. College basketball is regular season normally easy. Tournament's weird, though. So I just bet overs.
Over under today on you. Would I be betting Connor Thomas over 5.5 hours?
Of watching college basketball? Probably under. I need a nap. I get cranky if I don't get my nap time. But I'm gonna be zoned in for the first part of the tournament.
Sure. They'll do that. Gunner, under or over 5.5 hours today? For you.
I would say right around 6. So over.
Okay.
Big hoops head back there. What time does Nova play?
Oh, dude.
Oh, dude. I mean, I'm locked into the Crown April 1st.
The Crown.
Bring it on.
See, people don't care about the tourney. They care about the Crown.
I thought the Crown was this show that my wife watches.
Yeah.
There's some
drama down on the main line.
There's something. There is.
But you could win the NCAA tournament for what? The 100th, umpteenth time? We're going to be the first one to win the Crown after being the first ones to come in 6th in the Big Five.
Yeah.
Yeah, who's coaching the team?
I don't know, dude.
Player coach?
Now, reporting, it seems like Odom's not leaving.
No, it sounds like he's not leaving. It sounds like some of these guys, like Mick Cronin, Chris Collins, I really think they're just going to get an extension from
You don't
where
want
they're at.
You don't want Cronin.
No, I hate that guy.
No, you do not want Cronin.
He's a little pest.
Yeah, but then you're going to go with another unproven commodity?
They're in a bad spot. They're in a bad spot.
It does seem like that. With the NCAA tournament opening, it says, here's one of the ones. These are 2 of the least productive days at work for male employees.
Damn right. Not us, because our job is to be unproductive and just talk sports the whole time. But if I was in an office today, I'm not doing anything after noon.
The boss was just walking outside that door. Don't be telling him that.
It's unproductive.
Don't give away the cheat code.
It's unproductive on the general scale of productivity. It's very productive for what we do, which is why we're lucky. But
especially with the introduction of streaming services like YouTube TV, now you can sneak it on your phone. You can put it on the computer. I think the CBS.com actually has an escape button for if your boss walks by, it puts up a fake website. Like you're actually doing something.
It's the number one, by the way, illegal gambling operation that still exists is people betting in office brackets, which is funny because there has not been a prosecution of an office bracket. The last one on the books, I'm reading a piece here from yesterday. The last prosecution of an office bracket that was legitimate in office bracket was in 2003.
Yeah, it's like jaywalking. It exists as a law, but no one's going to come after you for it.
So everybody says, just do it. So if you get a chance to be in the office bracket, just do it.
Cross the street where you want, bet on tournament games with your friends.
And it's always the most random person that wins that, too. It's never the person who's devoted to college basketball. It's always just some random.
Yeah,
that's why I do 4 of them, because I don't know what I'm talking about.
He's totally rando. All right, a lot of us have asked over the years, what's for dinner? Well, Scotty Scheffler is the defending Masters champion and one of the great, great traditions of the Masters. A tradition like no other. One of the most amazing things you can do. If you've never been to the Masters, you're missing out. And yes, you can go to the Masters. I've heard from people up here as I moved home being like, boy, that would be so great to do that. It's a shame you could never go. And I'm like, you could go any year you want to. You can absolutely go. And if you want to email me, I can give you the hookup and tell you how to do it. Now, it's not cheap, but you can go any year you want to, any round you want to, whatever. But the Masters dinner, championship dinner that Scotty Scheffler picks the menu of. I'm going to just run this by you guys because I think it might be the perfect menu. The appetizers during cocktail hour they're brought around on the trays. They have cheeseburger sliders. He says they're served Scotty style. I have no idea what that means.
That's just his personal way he likes them.
But I guess everybody then has to have theirs that way.
Yeah.
So whatever it is. Firecracker shrimp with sweet Thai chili and sriracha mayo.
I mean, nailed the appetizers.
And, no, it's not even over. Then Papa Chef's meatball and ravioli bites. So his father's recipe.
I was wondering what that meant.
It's Papa Chef's. It's the father's recipe.
Yeah, his last name's Scheffler. You
that
couldn't
they're
put that
then
one together?
carrying out.
I just didn't know it was his personal recipe. I thought he just picked that himself.
Meatball and ravioli bites. And by the way, he has collaborated with the chefs to taste test these to make sure. It's like a family recipe, and then he worked with the staff there to come up with, okay, this is perfect. This is the way I want it. So they're calling it Papa Chef's. That's the greatest appetizer menu I've heard. That's awesome. Well, I mean,
about as good as it gets right there.
We learned Brendan Gunn would not eat the firecracker shrimp.
No, I like shrimp.
So you do eat seafood?
Yes, just not nonsense. Like, I don't know.
Okay, well.
Salmon.
The first course is Texas-style chili. I'm out.
I mean, I'm in.
That sounded good. I think it had jalapenos in it
cheddar
or something.
cheese, jalapenos, and corn chips.
That sounds amazing.
I'm out on the chili because you wouldn't want to be sitting at the table with me after I had the chili.
That's fine.
And that would
Master's
be
dinner.
rude.
You fart a little bit with the boys. Talk some golf.
Now the main course is you get a choice of wood-fired cowboy ribeye. Oh, sounds awesome. Or what Brendan Gunn has never had in his life, blackened redfish. If you've never had redfish, it's delicious.
I don't think I will.
You've had redfish.
Yeah, I've had it.
Delicious. With family-style macaroni and cheese, jalapeno creamed corn, soy-glazed Brussels sprouts.
That sounds good, too.
And chipotle lime roasted sweet potatoes.
I mean, I
taste
would eat all of this.
I'll skip the Brussels sprouts, but that's pretty awesome.
It's a great Master's dinner meal by
The
Scotty.
dessert, the warm chocolate chip skillet cookie with vanilla bean ice cream. Are you kidding me?
Is Scheffler just trying to get everybody like the itis that's going to be competing against him? And he's going to skip out on this dinner because he always eats that stuff?
They're going to have the meat sweats by the time they play.
I would absolutely do it.
Yeah, that's a great
anything
one.
you'd add on your menu that isn't there?
Yeah, I would do the pigs in a blanket because I'm a classy guy.
Okay.
The little hot dogs in the mini crescent rolls. That
You
would
know
have
that
to be
Tiger
there.
Woods has done that once before.
I'm sure. Like
Tiger
listen.
Woods has done a Cajun pigs in blanket, I think it was.
Oh, that's a great pick.
It was a Cajun dog blanket.
And you know what? I'd have to do some like Jersey pizza would have to be a part of it.
Like in the appetizer area? Or
yeah,
what?
just like the make a miniature slices, personal pizzas.
Not like
or
that
whatever.
crappy stuff on the boardwalk.
I like boardwalk pizza. I don't know about you.
John hates boardwalk.
Boardwalk pizza is terrible. It's the
I
worst.
disagree.
It's the worst of the pizza family. First of all, there's no sauce on it. Like there's barely any sauce. I am a big sauceman.
You know what we'd do? We'd probably get a hoagie tray. And that would be part of the appetizers too. Yeah, go talk to our friends over at
Gotta
Primo's.
get the good rolls.
Have a
down
little
there.
hoagie. Yeah.
Yeah. You guys want to figure out what a hoagie is?
Stay away from the pimento cheese. I don't want that on my hoagie.
Man, I would think that's potential. Could be in the mix there. I think I'd want some sort of well, I guess you have to offer if you do a cowboy ribeye, which is awesome, you have to offer somebody else something. Could a chicken parm be the other option?
Chicken parm would be good.
Would that be, no, but is that acceptable?
The other option, wouldn't it be non...
Well, they're going, you got to go fish?
It would be like a vegetarian kind of thing, so it would be fish.
It has to be fish?
Yeah, well, listen, if we ever have a Scotty Del Vecchio win the Masters, we're going to be looking at a situation where we get the parm out there, we get the hoagies, some Sunday sauce. That'll be good stuff.
Gravy.
I think it's exactly.
Yeah, I mean, the only other meal that I've seen.
It was sauce in Broomall. It was sauce in our neighborhood.
Was it?
Yeah, it wasn't
sauce,
it wasn't gravy.
Flip
It was
'em.
never gravy. In Delco, I only know a few people that were ever gravy families, and they were ones that migrated out of Southwest Philly.
Yeah, speaking of gravy sauce.
Picas.
I know. That's what I was going to bring up.
I knew it was coming. I'd heard that it was coming.
Terrible.
Picas, the legendary restaurant in Havertown, huge, 70-some years, closing down.
That's a shame.
But they're not closing for good. They're scouting out a new location in Delco to create a smaller location, and I can tell you, the Picas in Westchester, you can't get in. You cannot get in the door. on the
Always
weekends.
crowded.
It's always crowded. So, and congratulations on a fantastic run there. Michael Westwood better have some winners for us. He might have some winners for you. It's tournament day. We'll get some inside scoop on that. Plus, we'll check the text board and find out your final questions for the day. It's Kincade and Salciunas here on The Fanatic.
Mike Missanelli.
I feel there's going to be a little slippage. They won the Super Bowl. It's a natural slippage to come down a little peg.
here on Kincade and Salciunas with Connor Thomas doing a fine job in for our partner, Andrew Salciunas.
Yeah, he'll be back on Monday when he's back from vacation.
He will be. He's visiting some relatives today, getting around Florida. I'm going to hang out at the pool. That's awesome. The winter, you had it. You went on your golf trip with the boys. I went to Jamaica. Andrew down there. It's the recharge and the at the end of the winter before the spring is the best thing ever.
Absolutely. Mine wasn't very recharging. We basically drank through the entire city of Sarasota, but it was definitely nice to get to the warm weather. But hey, baseball season's right around the corner, so it's going to be time to enjoy the warm weather at Citizens Bank Park before we know it.
So excited for that. A week from today, the Phillies will open in Washington. And I don't know what Brendan Gunn's looking at, but it's supposed to be like 52 degrees.
It changed yesterday.
No, it still has the little snow thing, but that's from the night before.
Okay,
like
so
a
2 in
little,
the
like a
morning?
little chance of it's supposed to be 52 degrees.
Either way, you shouldn't see a snow icon on opening day.
Oh, I don't want to see that. Correct.
You also shouldn't see opening day before April 1st, but that's neither here nor there.
Well, we're going to be going Saturday at 61 degrees. That's what it said. We're efforting Michael Westwood to join us.
Yeah, he'll be joining us shortly.
We'll be able to see him and get him on here, and we'll find out a little bit about today's gambling. Now, for you, do you not feel a little weird when you wager on something you know nothing about?
No, I know very little about anything.
See, now the thing is, though, when the thing where it gets me, I'm like, I don't know anything about it. Like, I don't know a lot of these teams. I know absolutely nothing about.
Yeah, I mean, you have the general breakdowns when you look through the brackets to help you make your picks there. And I'm not betting like money line on a lot of these teams because a lot of the favorites are going to win, and there's not a lot of payout on that. I'm betting over-unders, and that's more of just a feel for the moment, right? The reason overs hit so often, I think, in the college basketball tournament is guys are all juiced up. They're playing faster because of the stage, and that just leads to the opportunity for more buckets to happen. You also, a real cool thing to check is the pace of the team and see who likes to play fast and who doesn't. And that'll really help you out with the point totals on the games, which is where I like to live.
I always wonder, too, if the teams that love to play defense are going to absolutely disrupt people. Are going to, like a team that plays good defense and loves to disrupt people, are they going to just manage to just take one of these lower-seeded teams and just dominate?
Yeah, it's so cool because there will be teams that don't have a guy taller than like 6'7" that are going to be playing teams that have like 2 7-footers, and seeing what the height difference and all of that and everything. It's just such a cool thing to see so many teams that don't have familiarity with each other match up on a huge stage. That's why it's tough, and that's why we need experts, and that's why we're going to talk to our guy Michael Westwood here in a little bit, and he's going to give us some ideas of what we're doing.
Well, we check with Michael Westwood, but first of all, let's check in with our key three today.
Now, the Kincade Salciunas Key 3. Today's best.
The Eagles are set right now. They currently have just 4 players who are going to be 30-plus this season on the roster, including Lane Johnson, your long snapper, your kicker. I mean, it's a small group, and a guy who could be out of here in Dallas Goedert. So, again, Geek Boy has been really trying to look at the numbers. And, yes, the Eagles are set to be the youngest defending Super Bowl championship roster in 2025. First of all, before you get it misconstrued, I think that is absolutely amazing. It is exactly where I would want to be. As an Eagles fan, that's where I want to be. But Connor, is there a gap? We're always hearing about things like veteran leadership. And as Adam Schefter pointed out yesterday, where was the veteran leadership when the team was crapping out in 2020? But this roster is going to be really young. I do think Dallas Goedert's going to be gone. I can't get over the fact how young this Eagles team is going to be and what they're going to be expected to do.
Yeah, it worries me a little bit. I got to be honest with you. I do think having the veteran presence in the locker room is very important. Now, some of these guys under 30 have a veteran presence already. A guy like Jordan Mailata, who's on the right side of 30 in NFL standards, is a guy that could lead a locker room. A guy
Absolutely.
like Jalen Hurts or A.J. Brown or Devontae Smith, they could do that. Saquon Barkley, he could do that. On the defensive side of the ball, though, I have more concern.
Do the Phillies in 2025, to you, have more answers than questions? It seems like a simple question. Yeah, the Phillies are going to win 90 games. They do. But do they? What did we get yesterday, folks? We got it again. Here's Rob Thompson.
Well, we're going to put Kyle Schwarber today. We're going to do that and we did it on Monday, and we'll let Trey lead off today.
Why does he got to get the
Sunday.
weird voice?
And then Sunday,
Because it's wishy-washy. Because they won't take a stand. They will not take a stand. The president of the club told us we're going to focus on it. We got to put Trey at top of the lineup. See what he can do. See how this thing works out. And they don't do it. Well, we'll do it one day. And then the next day, we're going to put Kyle back where he's comfortable because Kyle's comfortable batting leadoff. And we want Bryce. Bryce he can bat second. He's willing to bat second. But Bryce really wants to be a three-hole hitter because that's what Bryce is. It's so annoying. It is so annoying to me that they won't just take a stand.
I don't need him. I don't need him to right now.
Yes, you do, though. But you do.
But I don't. Why do I? What says that the Phillies can't be a successful baseball team by trying both of these things? I mean, they've been incredible win-loss with Kyle Schwarber in the leadoff spot. Trey Turner seems like the more prototypical leadoff hitter. It's not that one of these is a bad option and one of them is good. They both could be very, very good options for the Philadelphia Phillies.
Here's the problem, and I'm glad Salciunas is not here for this. And I hope he's not up listening. I actually feel that in my head, I won't do it until after they would win 2. But I actually now can sort of experience the idea that this thing could really be a long run.
You're coming around on the D word?
Yeah, but I need the second shoe to fall. I need another championship. You got win 2 in a row, and I'll talk about that. It's more the idea is I don't feel in our Philly sports history that I have ever been sitting on a gold mine like this. The only time I've ever felt like this was around 2007 with the Phillies. And I thought there were going to be numerous championships, and it still was a freaking great run. It was awesome. It's the last time I felt this good, though, to say, wow, I'm thinking the next 4 or 5 years are going to be really, really great. Things are going to be really, really great in Eagles land. Can they defend their title? Well, we'll be talking about it. 5 weeks to the draft. We are a matter of hours away from the tip-off of the great March Madness. And let the games begin. Michael Westwood joins us on the line right now. Michael, Creighton Louisville at 12:15. I don't like the young and the restless ever being preempted, but for Creighton Louisville, if you can help make some money today for people, I'm in on it.
Gentlemen, I'm listening to your show right now, and if you don't think that the Phillies are going to win more than 90 games, you're on medication.
What about 95?
Now you're getting sexy. You know I'm a Met fan, okay?
Yes.
I'm saying the Mets are going to win 100-plus games. They're saying they're not. 100-plus games. I mean, listen, the Phillies, they're changing their batting order around. Stop doing that, please. Stop doing that. But listen, more importantly, how do you guys give Andrew off during the biggest basketball day to start? How does he take off?
Well, he's just off.
He wants to watch the games. He wants to win some money.
He's going to sit there and enjoy himself, and he's hoping to make some money with some help.
He's definitely going to make some money with some help because, again, every Thursday I'm on this radio show. I'm telling you how great I am, and then I give out a game, and the game wins. Okay, you guys know I had Oregon last Thursday.
That was Oregon. You did?
Absolute winner. Yep, absolute winner. And, again, this week is no different, but it is a little bit different, guys, because it's tournament time. Today, I've got a tremendous inside move on this Creighton-Louisville game going off at 12:15 Eastern Time. And, again, I'm going to release it absolutely free on my free recorded comp line. All your guys have to do right now, whether they're driving in the car, whether they're in their office, whether they're home watching ESPN, all they have to do now is dial 1-800-885-2525. That's 1-800-885-2525. They're going to be connected to my free recorded hotline, and I am going to give to you absolutely free the winner of Louisville playing Creighton at 12:15 Eastern Time. It's simple. The first winner is always on me. Guys, there are games all day long today. I've got two tremendous games going off later on this afternoon. I have no problem giving it to you. But more importantly, I want you guys to focus on one thing. This is the time of year to make money, okay? This is profit-building time, all right? Get on my game today. Creighton playing Louisville. It's free. It's on my free recorded comp line. Again, call now, and I'll go one step further. The first 250 people who call me right now, I'm not only going to give the winner of Creighton Louisville, I'm also going to give my 2 top selections that go off this afternoon. So that's 3-0 today, absolutely free. All you have to do is dial right now, 1-800-885-2525.
Now, Michael, we got a bunch of listeners that are zoned in on professional sports that this is going to be the first college basketball they've watched all year when the tournament starts. Did you just start today, or have you been watching these teams throughout the year?
Oh, listen to me. This is what I do for a living. I eat, sleep, drink, fart, excuse my language, college basketball, okay? As a matter of fact, you're not going to believe me. I'm a New Yorker. I'm in Florida right now. Last night, I was at the Florida Atlantic game. I don't even know why. The most boring game I've ever seen in my life. One of my clients flew me down. We sat, we watched the game. They played Dayton. They lost to Dayton. But you know what? I live this stuff. And again, I do a lot of studying. I have a team that does a lot of research. Today is going to be an example. All you have to do now is get on my first game. Let me show you that I am the real deal once again. You hear me every single week. I mean, I've been in the sports handicapping world for 41 years now. I know how to beat the bookmakers on any given game day against the point spread, and I'm going to prove it to you right now, absolutely free, on my free recorded comp line. Call 1-800-885-2525 right now. That's 1-800-885-2525. Get the winner of Creighton Louisville, and if you like what you see, give us a call after we win.
Michael, make it a great day, and I'm going to tell you, steak dinner. The Phillies have more wins than the Mets. You taking the wager?
No shot.
Okay.
Listen, you guys are delusional. No way. Listen, I love the batting order. I love the camaraderie that you and I have. But be realistic, brother. Let's make some money in the basketball today.
There we
Again,
go.
1-800-885-2525. Love you guys. Talk
Thanks,
to you next
Michael.
Love you
You're the
too,
man,
Mike.
buddy. Oh, jeez.
Michael Westwood there again. That phone number, 1-800-885-2525. You're going to get Creighton, Louisville, and then
Two
you're also
more
gonna
moves.
Get 2 more tournament games for today that go off later. So, hey, I just told you. Like, I do this for a living. I don't know what I'm talking about when it comes to the tournament. I know a little bit. That's the expert there. You want it from him.
Well, what I would say is that Michael has put his money where his mouth is. And last week, the Oregon pick, which was the free pick if you called, he was saying, oh, I don't even have to worry about this one. I don't even have to, give it a second thought. And he was right. He had it nailed. So there's nothing to lose. So if you give it a shot, you can do that. It has been an amazing day today as far as just talking about youth, talking about young Eagles and everything. I just leave with a much better feeling that I just feel they're in such a great position. I'm looking ahead to 5 weeks to the draft and everything. It just seems like everything is in a really good spot right now.
Yeah, if you're worried about the Philadelphia Eagles, there are 31 other organizations that would trade places with you right now. And I'm not talking about the Super Bowl.
Sure.
I'm talking about where they're at this offseason heading into next year. They are as well set up as anybody.
3-1 odds to win the NFC. That was
darn
still
good.
the takeaway. After all the subtractions,
Yeah.
they're still the overwhelming favorites to be the NFC champs. Hey, remember, support life-saving cancer research. Join us and our generous partners, FT Young Heating and Air Conditioning, and make a donation today to the American Association for Cancer Research. You can do it at 975thefanatic.com/AACR because cancer research saves lives. He is a giant advocate for Boardwalk Pizza, which I'm shocked because I guess you don't like sauce and maybe you don't like taste. It's Mike Missanelli. He comes his way next. He'll come your way next with Bill Colarulo and the young Ray Dunn. It'll be a fun day. We'll be back to wrap things up for the week tomorrow at 6 a.m. Join us for Kincade Salciunas. Have a great day, everybody.
Fanatic Sports Update.
What do the Eagles still need to do? I'm Brendan Gunn with your Fanatic Sports Update. It's been a busy offseason so far for the Eagles with key departures in free agency like Josh Sweat and Milton Williams, and even yesterday, Fred Johnson, who went down to the Jaguars. They also traded away C.J. Gardner-Johnson.